Welcome to the November 10, 2020 meeting of the Evanston Preservation Commission. We have a quorum of 7 members, and I'll call the meeting to order. Before starting, we have to move to suspend the rules to be able to hold the meeting electronically. Do I hear a motion by a commissioner to suspend the rules and meet electronically? Commissioner Hacker?
I move that we suspend the rules and continue the meeting electronically.
And a second?
Second.
Okay. We'll give Elliot all the ties in light of the it's his last meeting. So we need
And I get all these special perks.
we have I see Commissioner Schmidt too. We need to do a individual voice vote. Commissioner Sullivan.
Aye.
Commissioner Bowden.
Aye.
Commissioner Reinhold.
Aye.
Commissioner Hacker.
Aye.
Commissioner Dudnick.
Aye.
Commissioner Idle.
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt. He's fully on yet, but I'll vote aye, and then we'll just say he's not fully on the meeting yet. And then Jamie wasn't on, right? Okay. So the motion passed 7-0. So for those of you who haven't attended our meetings before, as to each matter of business, the applicant will be given an opportunity to present their application. Please do you don't have to go through necessarily everything in your packet, but we do count on you to do a full explanation of your project and why you should think it should be approved. We'll then have questions and discussion by commissioners and any word from members of the public who have signed up to speak. We'd ask for each person who comes to speak that they identify themselves and what their role is. The sessions are recorded, and so the recording. And if you could, everybody could mute their microphones when they're not speaking. Thank you. The first matter is of old business was 1314 Johnson Avenue. Do we have, yeah, I thought I saw the applicants. Are the applicants speaking on behalf of themselves?
Good evening. Can you hear me pretty good?
Yes, if you could identify yourself.
Hi, I'm Gus Granchalik. I am the owner of 1314 Judson. I'm here with Kristen, my wife, the other owner of 1314 Judson, and our children, who will be coming in and out of the session throughout the session. We've got 3 of them. So this is actually, if you recall, a repeat of I think where we were. Memory serves me, in October. I think the group had asked for a revision, a pretty substantial revision to the initial dormer project. So we went back to the drawing board, so to speak, to redesign or reimagine based on, I think, the feedback we got from you and the conversations with Carlos, et cetera. The footprint of the garage does not change. It still remains as it was. But what we did was we aimed to reduce the size of those dormers, I think in line with the feedback we got pretty clearly. And then keeping that roof pitch similar to what it had been or what it is today. So right here on page 11, you see the existing east elevation on the bottom, so that larger dormer structure, which was a little bit more similar to what we had initially envisioned. This is a sort of, I think you call them like dog house dormers. And I think it's important to note that we envision raising the wall to make it work internally to make the structure inhabitable, so to speak, or you can walk around back there. that's the east elevation. West elevation, obviously on the top, pretty similar. A couple other significant changes. The door, obviously, the door right now actually is not a door. It's wood. The two garage door is just wood paneling right now because it broke off. The barn door on the left side is we envision replacing with a functional garage door. Right now it's sort of an old wood door. And then we wanted to replace the door on the back, which is actually, it's technically I don't know if it's steel clad door. It's not a wood door. It's like wood and steel, sort of veneered or something like this. Replacing that door and moving it around the corner to make it a more functional space. So that's the west elevation. This north elevation, that's where that door is. So we're moving the door over a little bit. And you can see how the dormer structure looks pre and post. The windows actually are vinyl. I think the description said they were wood, but they're vinyl on the front and the sides and the rear actually. So there's kind of a hodgepodge of what's going on here. I think it's obviously been renovated or put together a couple of different times. That's the north elevation, and then the south elevation, similar situation going on. If you go to slide 15, so this is how we envision it looking. Relative to our neighbor, actually, similar, they don't have the dormer structure in the same way, but similar in sort of height and scale to what my next door neighbor has. This gives you an idea of what that would look like. And then if you go to 16, it's just this is an interior view. Technically, I don't think you can see this you can't see this from the, I guess, the right of way or the alleys or the street, but this is that view. And I'm not sure, these are, I think there was a request to add a little bit more detail on the house. So I added a third picture in here. There's, from the back, so there's not a lot to see sort of at grade level. In the front, I took a couple different aspects so people can see what's happening or how the house is put together. This is just a little bit of understanding of the doors. We would envision putting in an aluminum clad window into the space. And then the door, there are obviously a lot of different options. I'm sure you're very versed in all of this, but what we tried to do is actually match our neighbors on both sides, and they had this long panel design. So we felt pretty comfortable that kind of fit within what was being built around us. So I think that is our presentation.
Okay. Questions from commissioners?
I have two questions. First one is that slope that you're using for the garage and the dormers, is that the same as the one that we see on the house? I think you've got what, 2 and 12? So go back one, you just went past one. Yeah, the one that we see over on the left, is that the same slope as that you're proposing for the garage?
As I recall, we're trying to keep, there's a slope right now, I think it's a 2 and 12. It might be a little less than that, but it mirrors what is there today, and I think it mirrors what's on the house.
What I was asking, because it looks very extreme on the coach house. It doesn't look as bad on the house. The house doesn't seem quite as whatever.
It's pretty peaked. I mean, I think, yeah, I don't know.
And the other question I have is, you have that little overhang, sort of a little roof over the larger of the 2 garage doors. If we go to the garage doors that you're putting in, wherever it is. Yeah, you don't have it now, but you're proposing something over the, I guess it would be the southwest door. You've got something there above that, what says aluminum raised panel garage door.
Is that because it's in a different plane? Is that why you have to have that? And you,
Except for his photograph doesn't look like that. That's why I'm asking.
Mhm.
Can you go to the?
I don't think I'm not following exactly. So
What is that above the? What is that above the door? I can't. I mean,
Yeah.
it's raised. It comes out, I don't know, call it 6 or 8 inches or something like this. It's built out. And you can see, I think in the picture,
That's why I'm asking.
yeah, it's built out.
Where's the picture? Going the wrong way. There.
Yeah, you can see it built out in
Well,
there.
it is in your rendering on the right, but it's not quite there on the left. Is that the entire?
No, Elliot, it's built out. The existing one is built out. Is that right? Because it looks like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not as, except that then he moved the plane back the rest of the way up. So you're just bumping it out to accommodate larger cars? Or that's probably why it was done originally.
Yeah, I actually don't know. I mean, that we're leaving essentially that as is. So we,
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I wondered about whether it would be nicer to extend that that little roof all the way over the other door, that's all.
okay.
But if it's in a different plane,
It's in a different plane.
yeah, it's really confusing on the drawing. Because I think if you go to the south elevation, I don't know that we see it sticking out.
Yeah.
See, we don't really see anything projecting out. Well, I guess we do. There's that little thing where the downspout is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Other questions? Yeah. Were there any members of the public here to speak as to this matter? No. Any further discussion by commissioners? No, okay.
I'd just say thank you to the applicant. I think he took our comments on the original version to heart, and the new design is greatly improved.
Thanks for the feedback. Appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll apologize. I can't see, I mean, with the presentations taking up most of the screen, I can only see a few of the commissioners at a time. And so I won't be able to see if you're raising your hand. You'll have to speak out. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve this matter?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, thank you.
I move to issue a certificate of appropriateness to 1314 Judson Avenue in the Lakeshore Historic District for the removal of the roof and dormers on the garage structure and to construct a second-story addition, replace the barn door and the garage doors, and to replace the existing wood windows with aluminum-clad wood windows. Applicable standards include alteration 1 through 10, construction 1 through 5, 7, 8, and 10 through 15, and demolition 1 through 6.
Second?
Second.
Second. Okay, we'll take a commissioner by commissioner vote. Commissioner Sullivan?
Aye. Yes.
Commissioner Bowden?
Aye.
Commissioner Reinhold?
Aye.
Commissioner Hacker?
Aye.
Commissioner Dudnick?
Aye.
Commissioner Idle?
Aye.
I'm an aye. And is Commissioner Schmidt now on? No, okay. All right, so the matter passes, that's 7 votes to none. All right, so the next matter of, thank you, sir. Thanks for good
Thank you.
presentation. 1735 Asbury Avenue. So that's to be continued? Is that the status?
Yes, correct.
Okay. To our next meeting then.
Pardon me, Chair Simon, are you guys able to hear me? This is Commissioner Schmidt.
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Okay, great. I'm an aye for that one. Sorry, my mic wasn't working.
Okay, thanks. All right.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, 35 has continued to the December 8th meeting.
Okay, so Commissioner Schmidt, would you like to make a motion to continue 1735 Asbury?
I move, like to make a motion that we continue 1735 Asbury Avenue to the December 8th meeting.
Second?
Second.
Second. Roll call vote, Commissioner Sullivan,
Aye.
Commissioner Boudin,
Aye.
Commissioner Reinhold,
Aye.
Commissioner Hacker,
Aye.
Commissioner Dudnick,
Aye.
Commissioner Idol,
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Aye.
and I'm an aye, so all in favor. All right, thank you. 2404 Ridge is also to be continued, just to confirm, Carlos, that's correct?
That's correct. The applicant has requested to continue this item to the December 8th meeting.
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion to continue?
I will make the motion. May I ask a question before I
Sure.
make the motion?
Sure.
In reading a summary of yesterday's city council meeting, this, not quite this site, but the adjoining property came up as part of a subdivision. And there was a comment made about the Preservation Commission having approved that subdivision, at least prior to it going to wherever it went on. And I did not recall that we had ever dealt with that subdivision in a positive manner.
Yes, we had approved the subdivision last year at some point.
Yeah, I thought it was moved and we never, all right.
Yeah, no, we did.
All right, I make the motion that the public hearing for case 20 PRES 0308 economic hardship be continued to the meeting of December 8th, 2020.
Second,
Second.
Commissioner Sullivan, second. Roll call vote, Commissioner Sullivan,
Aye.
Commissioner Boudin,
Aye.
Commissioner Reinhold,
Aye.
Commissioner Hacker,
Aye.
Commissioner Dudnick,
Aye.
Commissioner Idol,
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Aye.
and Commissioner Simons and I. All right, the next matter to be presented by the applicant is 1033 Hinman Avenue.
Okay, I'm George Young. I am, along with my wife, the owner of the residential property at 1033 Hinman. And we're looking to get your approval for a certificate which involves the demolition of our existing garage and the construction of a new, slightly larger garage on the property. The new garage, we'll get into the design, I think you'll find is fairly traditional design with one added feature we requested. The plans you see were developed along with my architect, Paul Janicki. So our existing garage, if you go back to the plat of survey, it sits on the far northeastern part of the property, and we're looking to stay back there, but slightly adjust the location of the garage. So this is the home. Our home was constructed in 1872 with a gabled L design. It was built by Luther Greenleaf, who is fairly well known in these parts. The original before you leave that, the original design was 1.5 stories. Later in 1911, in the back, they added the rest of the build out of the second story with a slightly different roof pitch back there. And also in 1911, there was the addition of the elevated kitchen space you see. Okay, thank you. This is the existing garage. These are the two shots looking from the west, or looking to the west, I'm sorry. Yes, this is a Sears Kit Garage. I think you'll recognize it if you're familiar with Sears Kit Garages. In the interest of preservation, I have to point out that there are two nearly identical Sears Kit Garages just across the alley from this one. However, they are in much better shape than this one. So if you go to the next set of photos, you'll see one of the issues with this garage, again built in 1927, was it's been severely impacted by animals burrowing under the concrete foundation, which has caused at least a couple of spots of collapse. It's currently being held up by jacks and posts inside. And I guess the pictures speak for themselves. So our desire is to build a slightly larger garage, 23 feet square. You saw in the previous photo the fact that there was a large tree, a large maple tree impinging on the edge of the front gable of the existing garage. We wanted to make sure that doesn't happen again. So we're planning to site the new garage more in the center of the property, in between that tree and another equally large tree, which is towards the south side of the back there. So there's just enough space given that garage size to accomplish that. Okay, so these are the elevations. The one thing to point out is we didn't want that excessively high a garage to make it more coach house-like. So I asked Paul Janicki to build something comparable to what we had, a little bit lower in elevation than the two garages that you approved just to the two properties to the north. The resulting height to the peak is 15 feet, 11 inches, where the roof pitch matches the roof pitch of the rear second story of the house. The other salient feature is on the south side, a clerestory windowed dormer. Wanted to keep the south wall elevation sort of more free without windows, and we didn't have the need for an excessive amount of storage space up on the upper part of the garage. So I asked whether we could install a clerestory window dormer up there so that light from those windows would fall to the interior of the garage on the south side to give good natural lighting from the outside. So that part will remain open in terms of just the rafters and the supporting joists so that the light can fall into the interior. I will have some storage space on the north side where we can use the second upper part for minimal amount of storage. Then the only remaining windows are the two on the west elevation facing the house, so that there can be some visibility, obviously, from entering the garage into the yard. And that's where the entry door will be. Okay, I guess that's it for the elevations. The next couple of figures show the 3D portrait. This is the 3D realization from the west that shows the relative proportion of the clerestory windows and yeah, the roof pitches and so forth. I asked Paul Janicki to develop these drawings with we're going to use wood to enable a 3-inch siding reveal. The reason for that is I wanted to match the house in that, if you may remember the previous photo of the house is currently, since the 1960s, covered up with 6-inch reveal aluminum siding. But the porch, the aluminum siding was removed by the previous owner on the porch, showing the fact that there's, at least on the porch, there's pretty good condition clapboard with near 3-inch reveal. So this may involve coming back to you because I do have an insurance claim which allows me to redo the aluminum siding, similar to my neighbor up the street who came before you with the same request a couple of months ago. I realize the circumstance is such that first we have to take a look underneath the existing aluminum siding of the house to see what's underneath there and what condition it's in. I'd like to see if we could do what he was possibly proposing, which is to restore the existing clapboard. So I didn't want to have anything, presumably the garage will be built first. I didn't want anything that would conflict with the, inherently conflict with the possibility of having a clapboard in the garage, you know, jarringly distinct from anything the house might reveal. Plus, I tend to favor narrower reveals myself rather than many I typically see. The only other thing here is up in the upper right-hand corner of this, you see the proposed garage door. That's the exact one we're trying to get. So I think that's pretty much in concert with what Paul Janicki's drawing showed. The other windows I intend to use are Marvin Elevate wood windows, the ones without a sill or sash, because the clerestory windows in particular, I'd like to be able to clean easily, so that facilitates that. So those are the drawings, and I think that's about it.
Great. Okay. Questions from commissioners? No. Is there any comment from members of the public? No. Any discussion by commissioners?
I just want to, hi, this is just thinking, this isn't really a comment on the garage, which is I think is really nice. It's just if you end up replacing the siding on the house and this commission has approved hardy board, just, you know, you don't have to paint it. If that comes up, I think we've discussed here that it doesn't come in 3-inch, it comes in 4-inch. And I don't know if that was on the table for you to think about, or if you think that you would just replace your house with, you know, wood clapboard, and that was not, it didn't come up. It's just something.
Yes, I'm very much aware of all of that because I very carefully listened to your discussion with my neighbor up the block, Alan, who was in a similar situation with his aluminum siding. And I recall the conversation about the planking and the hardy board and so forth. And I know that I couldn't get down to 2 3/4 or a 3-inch reveal. So I'm still looking, I'm at the stage now where I'm going to start peeling off for inspection the aluminum siding for the house, and fingers crossed that, especially on the south side, that the existing clapboard wood siding is in sufficiently good shape to rehabilitate to match the nice clapboard we like on the front porch. But that remains to be seen.
Anyway, that was just,
I'm familiar with all that, yes.
thank you.
I have a question, Mr. Young. The windows in that, I don't know, what do we want to call it? The dormer? What are they?
Those are the Marvin windows. Paul Janicki drew it with 3 vertical separations. I want to keep 3 as is shown there, but I would probably use the Marvin feature of having the interior glass subdivided. What did you call that in the application? Simulated divided lights.
SDL, yeah.
Simulated divided lights. That's what I think
Yeah.
we were shooting for.
It's just that when you look at the size of the glass and you look at that window, I mean, it's, and then there's all these muttons in there. I'm not sure that it's all going to be quite as delicate as it looks in that drawing. I'm not sure by the time you actually put a real window in there and get it up off the roof, I have a feeling it's going to be a very narrow slit. That's why I'm wondering what you were using, that's all.
I was going over the sizings with Paul Janicki, and I don't recall exactly what the dimensions were, but I thought we identified. I'm sorry, I don't remember what the exact window pane height is, but I know we looked at what was available, and we'd be able to come up with something that looks like this looks.
I was counting the boards, and because you said it was 3 inches, so you can get an idea. You've only got about 3 inches top to bottom. And by the time you put the frame in, I think you're going to end up with about 12 inches of glass.
Well, I wasn't looking for, when I saw the first relative proportions of the dormer relative to the roof size, this looked appropriate to me. I'm not looking to, I'm looking for a fair amount of light coming in, and it being on the south side. A foot, you may think a foot would be dim, but I don't.
No, it's not. It's just that you end up with very little glass. By the time you put in all those muttons in that, there isn't going to be a lot there.
Oh, well, again, I see. Even if it's simulated divided lights with the divisions inside.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to revisit that in my mind and see what the actual products present to me when I look at them head on. This is sort of looking at it from the side, but I really didn't study that in great detail what the relative size of the simulated muttons was that it came in. It might be that we've just divided into 3 verticals like he shows here. That's fine too. We wanted to have some division in there, not no division in each of those 3 sections.
All right, any other discussion? Would someone like to make a motion to approve this garage? Commissioner Booker?
I will. Oh, okay. I make a motion that we issue a certificate of appropriateness for 1033 Hinman in the Lakeshore Historic District, case number 20 Pres-0307, for the demolition of an existing garage and the construction of a 23 by 23 2-car detached garage with a gable roof, clear story window dormer with asphalt shingle matching the house, and wood siding, which I think is 3 inches. Is that what we just
Yeah.
said?
That's right.
And the applicable standards are for construction, 1 through 5, 7, 8, and 10 through 15, and demolition, 1 through 6.
Second,
Aye.
Commissioner
Second.
Tudnick. Roll call vote, Commissioner Sullivan,
Aye.
Commissioner Bodan,
Aye.
Commissioner Reinhold,
Aye.
Commissioner Hacker,
Aye.
Commissioner Dudnick,
Aye.
Commissioner Idle,
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next matter is 1509 Forest Avenue.
Hello. That would be me.
You want to introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, my name is Victor Smolik. Yes, I'm a contractor since 2003. I was actually a very good friend with Mr. Heki Powell, and we lost him this year. We have a job here in 1509 Forest, and due to the hail damage that it passed on April 7, 2020, we are existing siding right now. It's actually a wood siding behind and on the top of the wood siding, which was original siding. We have aluminum which actually did get damaged due to the weather event, and insurance company is paying us to replace the siding, aluminum siding, with something similar. They're actually paying us with aluminums to replace with the aluminum, but the problem is that the siding aluminum, it's not available on the market anymore. It's just this is discontinued. So we came back with the idea of putting something better. You know what? Let me just start over. As you see on the pictures, the siding, the original siding, it's in really bad shape. It's not rotten, but it was painted probably multiple times, and an existing wood siding was covered up with aluminum siding. So there's nail holes all over. So our idea is just to put the insulation, remove the aluminum siding as well, put insulation, fenfoil insulation over the existing wood siding, and nail down the hardy board, which is a concrete siding. So we actually, as you're looking at the pictures, there's a beautiful frame for the windows, beautiful accents. We're not going to change any of that. We're gonna save all of it. So we were replacing the gutters, the existing aluminum siding for hardy board. There was a couple proposals because we can do 4-inch exposure, we can do 5-inch exposure, and we can do 6-inch exposure. So that's just a simple job. We are replacing just the siding and the roof. Existing roof is actually 30-year-old architectural shingles, which we are going to replace with exactly the same. But again, with the siding, aluminum siding, it's no longer available on the market, and we are planning to. It's going to look exactly the same as that one. But I would like to ask you for advice. What kind of exposure should we use to keep that house the beautiful way that it is right now? So it could be from 4-inch to 5 to 6 to 6 inches. So one more time, the dwelling, which is the main house, got approved for siding replacement, and the garages as well. The garages you see right now on the picture that someone's sliding, that has regular corners, which we do prefer better even for hardy board, because it's just more weather tight, instead having a cladding corners like the house it's showing. And we can keep the same color. We can keep it white. One more time, we're gonna try to save the shutters, because they're kind of like really custom made and beautiful. If you can go up on the pictures, on the very first pictures, you can see the shutters on the house. I'm not sure what condition they are, but I do have a really good carpenter, so we will be able to save them. So anything you see as a soffit or fascia, everything is wood. It's not gonna be touched. All we're just replacing is we're replacing the aluminum siding with the hardy board. So this job is less complicated than the previous ones.
Is the existing siding all 5-inch exposure?
The existing siding, let me go back home. Let me just take a look on the pictures. Yes. I think existing siding, aluminum siding, which shows, I think it's actually 8 inches exposure. We look at pictures. You know what, let me go back. We should include them. Yes, it's 8 inches exposure. What's outside, because when you see we actually removed one of the panels from aluminum siding, and we did measure the siding behind. So the exposure behind, it's 1, 2, 3, it's 4 inches. The original, the wood siding, which was originally installed. Then someone will actually got back with the 8-inch exposure aluminum.
So the original siding is 4 inches?
I think it's actually on page 144, you show that it's 4.5 inches.
144, the wood siding, right? Because someone just nailed the aluminum siding over the original wood siding. So the 144 is actually showing, yeah, you are completely right. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 inches. And we can do 5 inches exposure with the hardy board, which is going to be pretty similar. And this is a larger house. So the difference between 4 and 5 inches exposure, it's not going to be that, visible.
But can you do 4 inches if that's what was existing? Because I know they make 4-inch hardy board.
I do think so, yes.
But
Let me just make a note.
So what is it?
They could do either because it's 4.5.
I think they can do the 4.5. I think the way it's made, it's either going to be the 5 or the 4.
That is correct.
Yeah.
But also, I would like to ask you for the permission, just because those window frames are kind of wide and really good looking. So instead having on the page number, can you, I cannot slide it on yours, showing corners on the house, which has the little miters right here. This is an old school. And the problem with the hardy board is the fact that they don't sell miters like for this aluminum, which is a little piece. This is a separate piece than the siding panel itself. They don't sell anything like that for the hardy board. So literally it's the siding board, the hardy board is installed in that way. One corner goes like this, one corner goes like that. And every single corner, it's we're putting a silicone, which I do not like the fact and idea of it because it's too much expansion and contraction that the corners will get open up in time and will damage the house. So my idea is to match the siding size, which we agree, let's say we're gonna agree on 4 inch, we will put the 4-inch corner on the outside of whenever the elevations meet. So the outside corner will be 4 inch on each side to match the size of the exposure for the siding.
I don't
understand what you just said.
He said that he was going to do a corner board that was 4 inches to match the siding. So wherever you see mitered, he's got these giant corner boards everywhere.
Not giant, but it's only 4 inch to match.
Yeah, but that's is this a land? This is a landmark house, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think what's going to happen, I understand about mitered corners, but if you look at this house and all of it, you can go to the front elevation again. Let's go to the front elevation and you think about all the corner boards, and 4 inches is large compared to that there's nothing there. It will be. Mm-hmm. So I'm concerned it will complete, and the way it meets that trim up above, it is going to really change the way this house looks.
Truly,
as a landmark house.
No, I agree with you 100%.
So,
we can do miters. Then the garage has the actual
I know.
corners, so we can match the garage with the house, make two of the garage and the dwelling itself matching with the mitered corners.
I had a couple questions. Are all those arched openings over all the windows, that's all wood?
That's all wood, yes. It's all painted wood. And I do believe that paint, it's leaded paint, so it stays outside for a little bit longer.
So the aluminum siding just dies into all those curved areas. Is that wide board at the eave aluminum or wood?
The board in the eaves is also wood. So literally there's no J channel like with the regular aluminum siding or vinyl siding that goes up to the board, and we put it in a silicone, which is quad, and I do believe it's 40 or 50 years warranty for that, either Solaris or quad. My question is,
You, in pulling up the aluminum siding, you probably haven't pulled up a corner to know how the wood siding underneath turns the corner. Is it, I think that's more interesting maybe than, I mean, the aluminum's mitered, but I don't care necessarily. I'm more interested in what the wood siding looks like underneath. Does it miter the corner, or does it have
let
a
me
wood
just
corner board?
actually pull a couple
The
panels
aluminum,
off.
and the aluminum looks like it has those, you know, those little corner caps on it, but I'm not really sure.
Right, right. But yeah, I mean, who knows what the wood is doing
Yeah,
underneath.
no, true.
I mean, just because there's a picture that actually included, but it's, I think it was miter as well, but can't tell. Truly, for the historical look, I think the miters, just like it's existing on the house, they look much, much better because it's like an old school, and I do like it a lot. And I do believe the wood siding did not have the corners as well. It was miter as well. It was, I think it was, I'm not sure, I think it was cedar, but it was painted multiple times.
Well, can I ask a question? Since this is a landmark, is that something that we could ask you to confirm? Because since you're replacing it and we don't quite know what is underneath it or what was there, if that's what we're asking, can I mean, this does not have to be coming back to the commission, but could be administratively. It would just be important to know if it was different.
Of
I
course,
think,
not a problem. I can go back there to, but tomorrow, I will go back there by Friday and I'll take some pictures. If you can provide me with the email that I should send a picture or explanation what kind of corner was original, I'll do it with no problem.
You should send it to Carlos.
Okay.
Carlos. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you know what? She's amazing, right? Carlos. All right.
And then maybe you can also confirm, I mean, I know you said, well, maybe it would be good to also confirm, you said that the siding underneath it was 4.5. You could just confirm that as well.
That's not a problem. You know what? These pictures that you guys have, it was taken by one of my employees, and I went back there to the site and I took better pictures. But I will find a picture and I'll send it to Carlos. Question: right now the house is white. Everything is white. So if the customer, the homeowner, will choose a different color, would you mind, or it's got to be approved as well, or I can simply tell her that, hey, let's keep it the same way it is because it's.
We don't have.
Yeah, we don't review color, so whatever they'd like to
can't.
use is fine. Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So one more time, this is a historical district. That's a landmark house, and we would like to make it nice and watertight to actually live longer. Would you suggest that if we're gonna go back with the fenfold insulation, because we have to provide some kind of a flat surface to nail the new siding, and I would like to have actually permission to put additional, not just the fenfold. Fenfold is covered on both sides with the breathable membrane, but I think we also should nail down a Tyvek, not just the house wrap, but the Tyvek itself, just to make sure, and tape it as well, all around the windows and all around the seams, to make sure that this house is actually watertight and not in.
I think the bigger issue is when you take off this aluminum siding, if you see that there's a lot of rot on the siding below and you have to take everything off, you've got to see where the new layer of hardy board or whatever that is going to be in relation to the existing trim. So, I mean, that's just what you're going to end up doing, right? Because who knows what the condition of the sheathing or anything is. So you're going to,
on that, Julie.
What?
Was Victor, is it?
Yeah, Victor. Yeah, I'm sorry. In Polish alphabet, we don't have a V.
No,
so
I know.
Everybody calls me Victor. I said, don't do that.
Fine. Did you say that you were putting a layer of insulation on it before you put the hardy board? Or?
Yes, because we have to provide this kind of like a flat surface. Because nailing panel, after panel. So which actually will bring the more R value to the elevations as well.
But how thick of a layer are you putting on?
Quarter inch. It's just a regular fenfold, quarter inch.
That means everything's going to be pushed out. I don't know how thick the aluminum siding is, Julie. I mean, even if he.
No, I mean, how do we know when he takes all this stuff off, if you're not going to be finding rot and then you have to go down to the sheathing? I just assume that we're going to, as a commissioners, I think we're just looking at keeping the same, if you're keeping the trim, you cannot come forward of it with your new hardy board. So I don't, so
Yeah.
however you achieve that,
Oh,
I'm looking at it the other way. If he takes off the aluminum, let's assume the wood is fine, and then he's putting on a layer of insulation, and then the hardy board, I think he's bringing the plane much closer to all of that trim.
I agree, and that's what I'm saying, like, that's all we can say is like that we don't want, that you can't have the trim be flush with the siding.
Truly, thank you so much for that, because I did not think about this. The trim on the windows is pretty thick. When you see the, I think it's almost a 3/8
Well,
the exposure from the aluminum siding. So the hardy plank, it's much thinner, but it's harder. This is another picture that I'll provide you guys with information, how thick is the window trim and what will be the thickness of the insulation
okay.
plus the new hardy board siding. I'm just making notes.
Any other discussion? I don't think I asked whether any member of the public wishes to speak to this. Okay. I mean, Julie, do you want to try to make a motion that includes the items you want reporting back on so we preserve them?
Okay, hold on.
I think we should.
What?
I think we
Okay.
should move it for the next, appointment, the December 8th, you said. So I can actually have enough time to provide you with that
That would make
information. I do agree with that.
I mean, we weren't proposing that you have to come back. We were just,
We were just saying that you would supply. Okay, let me try this. We're just going to ask you, I'll make a motion, but we want you to supply that information to Carlos, and then it would be reviewed by, I don't know, 2 commissioners or something, right?
Perfect.
However that works.
Yeah, that will work just fine. And
Okay, so I'll make a motion, I guess, here. Okay, I move that we, I'm going to try this. I move that we approve make a motion that we give a certificate of appropriateness to 1509 Forest Avenue, a landmark home in the Lake Shore Historic District, case number 20-0310, to replace the existing aluminum siding on the house and the garage with a hardy plank lap siding. And the applicable standards are alterations 1 through 10. The commission would like the receipt, or the commission would like the homeowner to, or contractor to submit administratively the actual dimension of the existing siding and description. Oh my gosh, I don't know. Elliot, you try.
No, yeah, I need to just check what kind of.
This is getting, I mean.
I think this is too.
I think it seems to me that since he had no problem with coming
Yeah,
back
he
on
should
the 8th, that you should just move it to the 8th, Chair.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I'm asking the.
I
chair-
agree. It's like, we're gonna wanna, so
You're
let's
gonna
just,
wanna see it anyway.
yeah. Okay, let's clarify this. Okay,
Sure.
let's clarify what, Victor, what you're gonna provide. You're gonna take off the existing aluminum siding in an area. You're going to find out what the existing siding is, the width of it, and if they're in fact corner boards, and then when you take, I guess, and then if you apply this insulation where the plane of the new siding would be in relation to all of the trim, and that's what you're going to come to the commission meeting with.
That's fair enough. Yeah, thank you so much.
Right?
Mhm.
okay. All right,
right.
so let's move to continue.
Sorry.
What's that? No, it's great. Would someone like to move to continue this matter to our next meeting?
Yeah, I'll just make it that kind of a motion.
Great.
That's what I thought we were going to do once he said he wanted to come back on the 8th. I didn't know.
Oh, I was trying to make, but then it was like too complicated.
Going through gymnastics. I make the motion that case number 20 PRES 0310, landmark in the Lakeshore Historic District, 1509 Forest, be continued to the meeting of December 8th, 2020. And I'll try this for purposes of indicating or revealing to the commission what the actual spacing of the boards are, what the details are at the corners of the siding, and possibly what the overall depth might be of the construction once it may have to be furred out. Anything else?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Second?
I second.
Second. Okay, roll call vote. Commissioner Sullivan,
Aye.
Commissioner Bodan,
Aye.
Commissioner Reinhold,
Aye.
Commissioner Hacker,
Aye.
Commissioner Dudnick,
Aye.
Commissioner Idall,
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Okay, so thank you very much. We'll see you next month.
Thank you.
Stay safe and healthy. Bye.
900 Edgemere Court. Did Amy Reichert get her audio?
Hi, I'm on. How are you?
Okay, do you want to introduce yourself and proceed, please?
Sure, sure. I'm Amy Reichert, architect for this small addition at 900 Edgemere Court for the Suresh family. And this is a small connecting breezeway and mudroom on a 1927 Mayo and Mayo beautiful Tudor house. And let me just show you, we're benefiting from the recent City Council amendment to allow permanent connections between primary dwellings and ADUs. So while we benefit from that, it does kick in a zoning variation, which we're going for, because now it was the garage, which was allowed to be on the lot line, is now part of the primary residence and is obviously not 30 feet back. So we're going to go before the planning tomorrow and then on to the zoning commission. So maybe we can you just scroll through? The shaded area is the current open area where we're proposing this small addition, which would connect the interior of the garage to a new mudroom adjacent to the kitchen. Interestingly enough, the original Mayo house, I don't think it was ever built, but there was a maid's room proposed exactly where the mudroom is, but there's no evidence that it was originally there and taken down. So basically we're proposing kind of swapping out an existing door that currently feeds the stair to the coach house, the interior stair, with a window catty corner to that, thereby making a direct connection from the interior of the garage through the landing to the coach house, into a breezeway, and then mudroom and kitchen. And this would be accessible both from the interior of the garage and from the parking court with the main door there. This is the roof plan. We're proposing a 2 and 12 copper roof. There are a lot of copper gutters and details, downspouts on the house that we're trying to refer to in this material. And then in the design and specking of the doors and windows, we're matching as closely as we can French doors and the muntin patterns and widths elsewhere in the house. And you can see that on the next few slides. So existing on the right, proposed on the left, just partial elevations. So we're filling in an area that currently has a little wooden gate. Again, moving the door, which is a new door, that fed the parking court around the corner, putting the window that was where the door is. So just swapping the two of them and creating a nice protected entry for the owners to come into the house. So again, on the left, that's the north elevation. The only really very difficult to see, but the only elevation viewable from a public way is from the alley. And that's the elevation I just showed you. This is the north elevation, but that just is viewed by the neighbors to the north who have written a letter to Carlos supporting the project. The neighbor to the north is Neil Sheehan of Sheehan Nagel Hartree, and he thinks this will be fine. So we're very happy to have his support on this project. Here's a little section cut through. You can see it's quite tight. So that the 2 and 12 slope was determined by clearing an existing window on the coach house and a window on the kitchen side, kind of opposite the side that you can't see. But it would create a protected breezeway and a nice way to get from the garage to the house, which is important since the family is expecting to have some elderly relatives there quite often. And currently there's really no way to come into the house that is protected from the weather. These are just details showing the precedent of the French doors that are typical throughout the house with the Colby Heritage Series wood windows and doors that we're proposing in this little addition. Vertical section, and here's a full-blown elevation of an existing French door on the right in the breakfast room and the door and side lights that we're proposing on the left. Here's a rendering showing the view, again, barely visible because there's a gate, a large gate that's closed most of the time. This is the view from the alley. If the gate were open or not there, you would see just a little bit of it peeking out between the house and the coach house. So a close-up view of the rendering. And materials palette, this is the Colby Heritage Series door we're proposing. Paint to match Sherwin-Williams paint that matches pretty closely. You know, there's a variety of grays on the house over the years, but this is one that we felt matched very closely. And then a copper roof reflecting some of the copper detailing on the historic house. And here are some of the precedents that we measured on the house, wood French doors in various patterns. And here's the current view, aerial view, and a view from the alley of the existing condition. The existing brick wall on Sheridan and the alley really blocks your view completely from every public way except the alley when the gate is open. And that's it.
Any questions for the applicant?
Hi, Amy. I have a question. Can you just review, because I know we're going to be making a recommendation regarding the zoning.
Sure.
Can you just review that for us?
Sure. So, you know, until this recent decision by the city council at the end of September, you really weren't allowed to connect an accessory dwelling with a primary residence. But I guess it, you know, the sort of mudroom connection to the garage issue has arisen in enough cases that they now are allowing that, which therefore makes it one building. And since it's now considered one building, it is therefore the existing condition is not allowable without a variance because the garage, which was allowed to be right on the lot line, is now part of the house, which has to be 30 feet back. So basically, you know, through legal language, what we're, you know, the garage is now illegal if we attach it, even though the attachment is allowed. So it's, you know, we're seeking a major variation, but we're not changing anything about the footprint. That's our, does that make sense?
You're asking for the 30-foot setback, right? As a major variation, because because the existing garage is on the lot line. When it's part of the house, you have to ask for that.
Exactly. The part we're actually building on is 40 feet from the lot line, but it's,
yeah,
you know,
understood. Yeah. Thank you.
Sure.
Any more questions from commissioners? No. Was there any member of the public who wished to speak to this matter? Any more discussion? No. All right, so I think we need two separate motions. The first one would be to approve construction and demolition. Would someone like a certificate of appropriateness Would someone like to make that motion? Elliot, go ahead.
All right, let's try it. For case 20 PRES 0309, 900 Edgemere Court, landmark in the Lakeshore Historic District. This is to approve or to recommend the certificate of appropriateness to construct a connection that will serve as a mudroom and breezeway between the existing main home kitchen and the adjoining garage. I won't go into all the materials. Copper, standing seam roof, reusing a number of the existing windows and doors and relocating them. And this connects to two buildings, and that will be the portion that we're going to deal with as far as construction standards 1 through 5, 7, 8, and 10 through 15, and demolition 1 through 6.
Amy, was that correct? The relocation of existing?
I thought you were relocating some doors and windows, weren't you?
Really just one. So the current, I think if you go to the previous page on the screen, yeah, so the maroon door that you see here is moving around the corner, where on the lower right you see a window that's actually the same width. So those two are switching, so that where you see this maroon door, there'll be the window, and then the actual doors that we're putting in with the side lights, those are new
Those are the new
Colby Heritage.
doors. Yeah.
So it's kind of a little bit of swapping, but primarily new construction, the breezeway part.
See, I got it right, Mark.
Cool.
I was paying attention to what she was telling us.
All right, good.
Hard to tell, though, I mean, admittedly.
Okay, could we hear a second?
Second.
I don't want to do it a second time.
Yeah.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Sullivan seconded. Vote, Commissioner Sullivan,
Aye.
Commissioner Bodan,
Aye.
Commissioner Reinhold,
Aye.
Commissioner Hacker,
Aye.
Commissioner Dudnick,
Aye.
Commissioner Idle,
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Aye.
Commissioner Simon. Aye. Okay, so Ellie, we'll let you do one last one and we'll let other people take turns. You want to do the zoning, so it's a recommendation rather than a certificate of appropriateness?
For the same project, this is a recommendation to the Zoning Board of Appeals. And it is, I guess it's what, standards, is it standards A and C of section 615.11-5? I don't have a copy of that thing in front of me.
And it's to request a 0-foot yard setback.
A recommendation, a positive recommendation is what I'm making the motion.
Right, okay. And it's to request a 0-yard rear yard setback for principal structure where 30 feet is required. Okay, a second?
Second.
Commissioner Reinhold, second. Commissioner Sullivan,
Aye.
Commissioner Bodan,
Aye.
Commissioner Reinhold,
Aye.
Commissioner Hecker,
Aye.
Commissioner Dudnick,
Aye.
Commissioner Idle,
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Okay, thank you very much.
Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
That's great.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
The next matter is 111 Burnham Place. Is somebody here to speak to that?
Yes, this is Rosetta Gernon, the owner of the home. I'm her son, Michael Place, the power of attorney.
Hello, my name is Michelle Calasini. I'm with Renault by Anderson. I'm here with Mike and Rosetta, and then also my install production manager, Jack Sakalas.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Um, Okay, and who's going to make the presentation?
I can speak to that.
Okay, thank you.
So my name is Michelle, and we are applying for the Certificate of Appropriateness for window and door replacement onto the west side, south side, and north side of the home.
Are you going to show us the windows?
Yeah,
and what
you
the-
the control of the screen here. So on this side of the home, we currently have the blue windows, and what we are proposing is to keep the existing wood trim of the home to keep the look and inserting our window into that. Our window is constructed with mortise and tenon joinery. So instead of a miter joint, so again, we're trying to keep the traditional look of that, but also giving back to the homeowner the safety and durability, because we're looking for a thicker glass. Also the insulating factors as well. We're also looking for the durability of the window. We do have a wood fiber window that is encapsulated in a proprietary polymer. So it does give the strength, durability, and insulating factors of the wood, but no rot. Cost savings overall and no future issues. When we take out the windows, we will be checking for additional rot underneath the frames, replacing and repairing any of that. We will ice and water shield that before we put down another window. And then surrounding that, we will do a foam insulating core as well. Now the blue trim around all of the windows, the homeowners made it very clear that they love this trim. It's gorgeous to the home. It's aesthetically pleasing. So we are proposing to not encapsulate that trim. So we are going to use our Firex L trim to seal off, and we will be leaving the surrounding wood in place to keep the traditional look of the home. So the windows will be white. And I have talked with Mike, who is the son. He can paint those if need be, if he would like to paint those. They are paintable because they do like the blue, the existing blue. And inside the window will look, like I said, just like it is now.
One of the things, if we back up one slide, I do want to add, and thank you, Michelle, for going through everything in detail. In this picture here, it does detail that there are existing aluminum windows on the frames. Those aluminum windows will be coming off. And again, we will not be encapsulating the wood. The gap between the window where the foam insulation will be and the wood trim will have the L trim put in there, and that will just be sealed, but the original wood will remain intact, and the shutters will also not be disturbed during the installation.
May I ask who spoke?
That was Jack Sokolowski. I'm the install manager for
Thank you,
Renewal
Jack.
by Anderson.
Thank you, Jack. And can you repeat where are the aluminum windows? What facade?
The aluminum storm windows are on every window that we are replacing.
So the aluminum are storm windows, not windows themselves. The storm windows only, correct?
They are storm windows, correct.
Okay.
All right. Is there anything more you'd like to present? I know commissioners will have questions about this, but is there anything else you'd like to say first?
The only other thing was the door, if you wanted me to address the door, that will be installed behind the existing storm door we have there. We wanted to give a very strong, secure door. So we have a steel plate inside the door for security. Also for the installation, it's going to be one solid unit, one frame. And we kind of went with the same look, if you will, as the storm door. So again, it will be behind it, so it will almost mirror what we're currently seeing there. The surround as well, that will stay in place. We will not be touching the blue surround either. So essentially the door is going behind what you're already seeing on screen there.
Okay. Why don't we start on questions from commissioners?
Yeah, why are you replacing them? Why is the owner replacing the windows?
Several other reasons we went over. One, they're leaky and drafty, so the energy efficiency. We have rot, existing rot. Also, the safety. The glass currently is a thinner glass, very easily broken. Again, the glass that we have today is much thicker, stronger glass. I believe that was pretty much it. The functionality of them, it was a little bit off as well, with with the rot and things of that nature. So just meant more energy efficient, cost saving, safer overall, and not having to have any more rot and maintenance. I don't know, Mike, if you had anything to add to that.
If you don't mind me saying, Mom's freezing here in the winter time. The draft is so bad that we're thinking of having to install plastic on the inside right now until we deal with this. The security was another issue, especially with the door. The police broke the door down for us one time because of Mom's health issue at a time. But we also had a home invasion at a time too, and it's just very scary situation here.
Yeah.
That's why we wanted
thanks
to
for
go
that.
inside.
Yeah, thanks.
I'll just say too, the locking mechanisms on the windows, but also on the doors, all of those features we addressed as well, the safety aspects of all those features. So all those features have greatly enhanced the safety of the home. So they were all chosen for specific purposes.
Great. Other commissioners, issues on the windows?
So Mark, I just want to, this isn't a question, I just want to clarify one item for the record moving forward. We obviously have talked a lot about Fibrex windows in the past. I just want to make a clarification that this project specific is not a landmark building, and the windows, that the way that they're getting replaced where the wood trim is remaining around the windows, I do not think that it's a contributing, distinctive element to the house. So in my opinion, I think the Fibrex material for this application would be acceptable.
So is the, I mean, obviously the wood around the windows isn't being touched, but the current exterior that's of each window that's wood would remain? And the Fibrex would be behind, window would be behind that?
No, the trim is going to remain, but the window itself is going to be Fibrex. There's no storm anymore. The whole window will be Fibrex. So it won't be, well, you're not going to see a wood clad or wood window, but the trim stays. Is that what you were asking?
Yeah, perhaps we could go to actually one of the actual pictures of the existing window. Okay. All right, so the obviously there's the shutters, and then the blue rim around the window is wood now. And
So currently the blue trim you see around the window there is actually the storm window.
Yeah, that's an aluminum storm, isn't it?
right,
Yeah.
so that whole thing's coming out, but the trim are all the, I'm sorry, but are all the windows, that's stucco, so does a stucco return like that for all the windows?
In this application here where you see the storm window is actually mounted on the wood brick mold. So once we take the
Oh.
storm window off, we are going to leave the wood brick mold intact, and we're just going to put a L trim that'll just terminate right at the brick mold. It won't cover the brick mold, it'll just terminate where the brick mold starts at.
Do you have a jam detail? I'm trying to.
I don't, yeah.
I'm getting the feeling that this window is going to be smaller and that the glass size is going to be smaller because you're leaving part of the existing jam.
So if you go back a couple images. I did provide the sizes for the windows and the visible glass
I'm
area.
wondering if you have a jam detail of how you're going to do it versus the existing. These don't really tell us.
Jump forward one. One more, because I do have a side-by-side comparison. Yes, there you go. There's your existing and there's the current window. So as you can see, the check rails, you do see.
You're 2 inches smaller on the windows.
It is a replacement window, so we are going to reuse the existing frame just to keep the beautiful exterior wood intact. So there is going to be a slight reduction in the visible glass area.
A lot, 2 inches. I mean, you're going from 27.5 to 25 and 3/16.
Correct. It's not a full tear out in order to keep that existing wood intact. But if you do look at the storm window that's on there right now, and you look at the visible glass on the storm window, it reduces it more than the replacement window will. So actually with the replacement window, you're going to gain more glass.
I'm not clear on what wood is being saved. I mean, I see this outer frame on this drawing, but I'm not quite sure why the new window can't be behind what is the trim. I guess that's why I'm asking if there's a jam detail.
The new window is going to fit, and I know what you're asking inside of that pocket. If we go, can we go forward some pictures where I have a picture of the inside? I can walk us through that.
I'm going to ask for a detail forever.
I'll keep going forward.
There.
Keep going. Okay, we could stop on that last one. So right in here that the sash will be removed, the storm window will be removed, the interior stop will remain, and the window is going to sit inside of that pocket. So where you see that exterior stop right there, that exterior stop will be cut out to allow the window to go in, and that's where we're going to put the L trim to bump up against the brick molding.
And can you show us the exterior one more time of one of the windows close up?
See, if you look from the inside at number 204, you can see where the current storm window overlaps the existing window. So where Jack was saying, once we remove the storm, even though our glass space is going to reduce, you're going to see more glass. And you can see that from that inside picture pretty well, how much room that storm actually takes up there.
Can you just show us the exterior, one of the exterior, like close, just here, stuff. Okay, that one's different, isn't it? Because that has the wood.
That one's a little bit
That's
different, where it has direct set glass.
Right. So the other ones are actually set into the, okay, well, I can't imagine those big picture windows were like original either. I have no, you know what, Ellie, like, I'm just, you know,
they don't look like they're original at all.
no, so that's why I'm like not thinking personally that I would make a big deal about them being replacement windows. It's just less expensive than them ripping everything off to put in a new window and new trim. That's what I think.
I mean, they appear to be non-original, and they're not a distinctive feature
Yes,
of the
yeah.
house.
I agree.
Yeah,
If it was a little bit more of a decorative feature of the
I
house, I
agree.
think we would be a little bit more particular.
I agree.
But the profile of the Fibrex window and the profile of these windows, I think, will be fairly similar, with the exception of the reduction in the glass size.
Do you have any pictures of the windows, like particularly the windows on the west side, which is the most visible facade, without the storms?
Let's scroll through. Let's take a look. Yeah, the west side. So that's where the entry door is in the garage. All of those windows have the storm windows on them.
Okay. Yeah, my only concern was on, this is the facade that you can actually really see. And, is the closest to a, like a front facade of the house. And it does seem like to me, the quality of this and the existing windows, I mean, it does look more, it at least has the appearance of looking older and more traditional, whereas the other ones all look like new kind of picture windows. So I think this was my only concern with the Fibrex, was what this facade was going to look like. And again, it's a house right, looking out on the lake, and this was kind of really the primary facade.
Well, the one thing is, because there's no muttons or anything, it's just a double hung. I'm not really sure how you're gonna, see it differently, like if it's gonna make some huge visual difference. You can talk about the material, that's something, but otherwise. And also, it looks like if you looked up close that the shutters are mounted on the stucco, and there's not the same trim detail that's around the house. So I'm not sure that you'd really sort of see any visual, like you might see the narrowing of the windows, but that it would make some huge difference.
Yeah, and you won't see the narrowing of the windows because right now with the storm
Because of the
windows.
storm, yeah.
Correct.
This is
And you were
also
saying right now the storms are painted. The fabric windows are going to be white, but they can choose to paint them to match the shutters if they'd like. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Was there any public comment on this matter? Any further discussion by commissioners?
Do we know if this particular property is even considered contributing to the district, or is it a non-contributing property? I'm having a real hard time deciding whether this is just a historic house that's been remodeled over the years, or whether it's something that's fairly new, like 1960s, 1970s infill. Do the owners know when it was built approximately?
I can double check, and if you give me a minute or two.
Okay.
I don't
know if the owners know offhand when it was built.
Do the owners know? This was a house on the Daniel Burnham estate. I mean, I don't know if it was this house this house or the house next door had part of the actual tea house from Daniel Burnham's house incorporated in it. I don't know if it was this or the house next door. I really don't recall. It's one of the two.
I'll get the information in a minute or two.
that east side is the side that faces the lake.
Almost there. It says that the house is contributing, but it's not eligible for landmark designation. And let's see. The year of construction is 1948.
I have 1923 here.
I'm looking at this, the Lakeshore Historic Survey sheet.
$1948 sounds plausible with probably some renovation subsequently. Yeah.
Don't ever trust Zillow.
Let me see if I find.
They say 1923, surprisingly enough.
Yeah, I think the two houses there had like pieces built, but then most of the house may have been built a lot later.
That's what it looks like. And the trim too, and all of.
Well, that would imply those picture windows are really original.
Yeah, could be. So.
And then in 2012, they removed the shingle, installed dimensional shingles, fiberglass.
Okay, we should probably move on. Any further discussion?
No.
Ken, do you want to make a motion to approve? You don't have to.
I think it's Tim's turn.
Let me see if I get the details here to make that motion. I apologize. I'm going to have to pass. Sorry.
Okay.
I can do it.
Okay, go ahead, Julie.
I make a motion that we issue a certificate of appropriateness to 111 Burnham Place in the Lakeshore Historic District, case number 20-0305, for the replacement of the existing wood double hung and picture windows and the wood door with Fibrex windows, which are double hung, and the picture windows, and a new paneled steel door. Applicable standards, alterations 1 through 10.
Second?
Second.
Commissioner Dudnick. Okay, I'll vote. Commissioner Sullivan?
Aye.
Commissioner Bowden?
Aye.
Commissioner Reinhold?
Aye.
Commissioner Hacker?
Aye.
Commissioner Dudnick?
Aye.
Commissioner Idle?
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Next matter is 1534 Wilder Street.
Hi, I'm Prakash Varghese. I'm here on behalf of 1534 Wilder Street. I'm a church committee member, a building committee member. This is not a...
Excuse me, Prakash, it's possible to speak louder?
Yes. This is Prakash from 1534 Wilder Street. I'm one of the church committee members. So we wanted to change the windows for the rectory, which is located at 1534 Wilder Street. And it is not a landmark property, but the church is a landmark property. So it's in the same lot. So right now we have wood windows. Some of them are vinyl, but like, since the hail damage that happened in April 7, some of the glass is broken, some windows we cannot open. So we wanted to change to vinyl windows. So we need your permission to change them into vinyl windows. We would like to change it into wood windows, but put the wood windows back. But we're kind of having financial difficulty, because of COVID-19 pandemic. We used to have around 250 people used to come to the church, and now it's like 25 people coming. So when we took the estimate, it was like, I think it was like $45,000 to change the into wood windows, but versus vinyl came out to like 12,000. So I'm here to ask your permission to change the windows. It'll look the same. It'll be double hung, and it'll have simulated divider lines. It'll look exactly the same. We're not gonna change any trims, like the frame. Window frame is gonna stay the same. We're just gonna change this, the sash part of it, where the moving part of the window. So we have some drawings here. West elevations. West elevations, we have about 10 windows on the west elevation, and we have 7 on the east elevation, 5 on the north elevation, and 5 on the south elevations. So that's we're looking at the east. Yeah, they're all gonna look the same, but we cannot afford to put wood on them. That's all wood windows. Yeah, those are the sample ones that's gonna be trying to install.
On the vinyl windows, are the muttons just like on the inside?
Yeah, they're inside.
Yeah,
I asked
yeah.
the company,
They don't
they said
make,
it's gonna
yeah.
be like between the glasses,
Yeah. And then what are you doing with all that glass block? You just leaving that?
That they're staying the same. We're not touching
Okay.
that.
Are you planning to do anything with the shutters? There's a couple of shutters.
It's gonna stay the same. Could we paint them? Would you recommend if we paint them?
Mm-hmm. I would think so.
Okay.
So this is just on the reason it's coming before us, and I think we discussed this before, this is coming before us because it's sitting on the same property with a landmark structure, but it's not in a historic district, right? It's just occupying the same piece of property with this landmark. Is that correct?
Yes, it's a standalone landmark, the
Yeah.
property. So the way the ordinance says, and there is the definition of a landmark, presumably also includes the lot of record, not just the building.
And so right.
The landmark itself is.
It's the kind of thing we are facing all the time with Northwestern, Julie.
Well,
It's on the same.
It's the same logic as all these
still,
garages and coach houses and stuff.
Yeah, I
the commission to review it.
well, but in the Evanston Landmark Statement of Significance, you know, it's about the church, and they said Reverend Fellman immediately said about raising money to build land on the block bounded by Florence and Ashland Avenues and Wilder Street to construct a church and a school. The first mass was held in a, so the rectory, was the rectory the former school, or, I mean, it was all constructed at the same time on this plot, correct?
I don't really think it is. If you, I don't know how many of you have ever seen the church. Is it still called St. Mary's?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Because it's facing on the other street. And if you take a look, you look at that facade and you look at everything about the actual church, which is the landmark, they don't even appear to have been done at the same time. It's really quite a difference architecturally.
Is there, I can't remember, is there a picture of the landmark building in this packet?
Yeah, yes, there is.
There was.
I thought there was. Can we just see that?
To be at the bottom. Actually, not in the packet. I sent you an email with those.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, you did.
Mm-hmm.
I think to clarify, I look at the ordinance and this building, 1536, is not listed as a landmark.
Mm-hmm.
008 Ashland. I just want to just make sure that's clear, even though a statement of significance may add another building with a church, we're looking at what the list of landmarks is. And obviously, it does apply in terms of the review because it's on the same line of record, same as any building in a historic district. In ones that are not landmarks or not contributing or significant are subject to review if you're in a historic district. So I just want to make sure that you are aware. The thing about the landmark itself, it appears that currently have already vinyl windows. And my understanding is that the church will come to the commission in the near future to replace those vinyl windows. I'm not sure with what, but that's what I was told, that they also have plans to replace vinyl windows on the landmark.
On the church, oh, wow.
But we're not reviewing that yet. I just want to make sure
That's
that point
not
of
what-
reference.
But here's the thing,
Don't
you
say it.
can't, I would like to say this, I don't think if this is approved tonight, I don't think that you can, I would like to make sure that you can't just make the same argument that because it was approved for this structure that it goes without saying that it would be approved for the landmark. So I think it's just important to make that clear if this is approved tonight.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. Could I ask, I mean, I've got other questions, but so for the $12,000 for replacement with vinyl windows, what windows are being replaced with that?
So we basically replacing 27 windows.
Oh.
Those windows, so we recently did the church roof. We applied for the permit for the church roof to be replaced. So we did get it approved and the roof is finished and final inspection is passed. So the same personnel is doing the windows. So because it's a church and you just giving us the best price, it's not really 20, you know, it's just giving us a deep discount, you know.
Yeah.
Almost like 75% discount because he said he gonna only do this for the church, you know, nothing else. Don't ask for that, you know. So the price is very discounted, but it's a very, very good quality window, you know.
Okay. Do you have information, depictions of the new windows?
There is. It's pictures of the windows. It's included in here. Down,
Did I miss?
there, right there. Yep, up, yep, right there.
Do you have any anything from the manufacturer about the, you know, depicting it a little more clearly?
Yeah, so there's one more down. There's this is from the manufacturer.
How long do they warranty those vinyl windows for?
They said minimum 10 years. He told me lifetime, you know, for him. He's
Yeah, for
his lifetime or your life?
How old is he?
He said it's only for the church, you know. He's only doing it for the church, you know. So because people at the church were surprised. They're like, "Oh wow, this is so cheap," and he's like, "It's not cheap. I'm just giving you a deep discount for the church." To respect to Mother Mary, you know. So
I'd like to come back to the issue Aleka raised. I did, you know, I looked at the ordinance to see it. I mean, there's just nothing at all about how to treat other structures on a landmark property. I mean, this isn't, you know, in some ways, it's if there was a, you know, landmark home with a coach, you know, a large coach house on it. I mean, it's not, you know, the ordinance doesn't, I mean, clearly the ordinance gives us approval. As Carlos mentioned, the ordinance says that the entire lot is part of the landmark. I'd say, you know, an auxiliary structure like this is, it's a gray area. It's really not specified exactly what we're supposed to review in the ordinance. So I do think it's very much an interpretive issue. I guess I was a little concerned because this structure does appear to be, you know, a considerably aged structure that is not insignificant. And while I wouldn't give it as much scrutiny as modifications to the noted landmark, I do think it bears some scrutiny.
Yeah, I think it's, I would agree. I mean, I do know that the vinyl windows, like they don't, you know, they don't hold up as well, and they just don't, it's just how, you know, they're much less expensive for a reason. And because this isn't just like an outbuilding, which, like, you know, if it was on a landmark, I was on a lot and it was a garage, you know, that's an accessory building and we might look at that differently, but this is a substantial building. So I can, Mark, I mean, I totally agree with, it's a little grayer, but it's a little more difficult as well. It's not like we're dealing with a shed or a garage.
Can you, I think one of the pictures showed damage. Could you show us what the damage is that would require, you know, say urgent replacement?
yeah, the broken glass right there. Then also like some windows, like you cannot even open them. It doesn't open up, and they're like cracked up, and like priest has been complaining that it's too cold during the winter time. So, you know, it's just too much air coming through them, you know.
Will insurance, I don't, maybe it's not, doesn't reach the deductible. Will insurance cover the broken glass, or is it?
They gave us like little money to replace the windows because it's been like it's aged, and so the insurance really gave us like more like 5,000, but we had to come up with the rest of the money to do the work, you know. So
the 5,000 might just replace the glass that's broken and just minimally fix them.
Yeah, minimally fixing, you know, because they said like, you know, it's not their responsibility to change the whole window. So
okay,
you know, we don't blame them.
And then it's hard to tell here with the reflection. Is that like a storm on the outside?
Storm window.
Looks like it.
It has a storm window. Yeah.
So did you look at like, okay, in terms of if you were doing a wood or a wood window and you could only do, did you look at like if you were going to do those and you could only do like a portion of the windows and then you wait another season maybe when after COVID? Because this is a big deal to do this. Like you're not going to replace the windows again. So to do them all as vinyl, I'm just, you know, suggesting that.
Well, the reason, like, you know, the priest's been complaining that it's too cold and, you know, he lives there and.
Yeah, some of them. So.
Right, you know, it's sometimes like kind of hard to open. Like you can't even, some are like fully shut. You cannot even open them, you know. It's stuck, you know. And you need like 4 people to open one window.
Right. Well, I just want to say that with vinyl windows, they also are difficult to open over time. So I'm just, you know, they are.
And there are options between vinyl and the wood,
Right.
in terms of cost. It is very difficult. It's a
difficult.
secondary structure, but, when you look at landmarks, I always defer to why was this landmarked in the first place? And it seems very clear that, the church and the school and, the entire, the significance of both the church and the rectory on that land to Evanston, is all very important. And so it's a difficult thing for me to make a material change like this. We typically don't allow vinyl on landmark structures. Are there, can any of the architects comment on typically Fibrex or some of the other options that are, or something to step up from vinyl that isn't as expensive?
Well, I think there's also different types of vinyl. What was I think originally you said that you had a wood window price?
Yeah, it was a wood window price, yeah.
And what kind of window was that?
That one, I think it was Pella or something, Pella windows.
Because even,
Did you
whether
look at Anderson, I know we shouldn't, but did you look at another wood window?
So basically, like, we went with this vinyl because even this vinyl was like almost 24,000 because, because he gave us a discount. That's the only reason we came to, like, we were able to afford it and be able to, change the windows and, make the space.
Yeah, I think the problem is not only that it's a vinyl window, but looking at the detail, looking as if, it's, I hate to say that it's not a name company, but it's not very clear that this is even the best of all vinyl windows, if we can call it that. And it seems, I think what Aleka was saying, I think it was Aleka that said, the issue of the range that we have in between. Seems as if, I'm not sure that you've looked into what else is available. But you're also looking at you seemingly had a range of 25 to 40, and then this guy says, I'll make a deal. What were you going to do if he wasn't going to make a deal, and what other options did you explore?
Or could he make a different deal? A deal on a different type of window?
Why don't you go to the wood window guys and ask for a deal from them?
So basically, this window guy he's working with, he said he's been working with them for like almost 20 years. Okay.
I think we're gonna, you know what, I think we're gonna have to evaluate this as, I understand the costs associated with it, but I started out actually thinking one thing, but in looking at this building and then understanding what vinyl windows are like and their upkeep as well, and I have thought about this differently. Maybe we just should take a, see what we think.
And I guess the other possibility is maybe something where, a longer term project where some repair work is done now, and then in the future when when COVID's over, doing more, or there are probably a variety of different plans that might mitigate the cost. Truthfully, the price you were given for wood windows seems like a great, hugely discounted price.
Yeah.
How many windows again are there?
Total of 27 windows, 27.
And what was your window price?
It was like 45,000.
Probably makes sense.
Another thing, the school that was mentioned in the historical building, I believe it was on the 3rd floor of the church.
Yeah.
They're like divided as classrooms and stuff. So I think the school that was mentioned, it's in the historical church building on the 3rd floor. And also the other cost we had was the roof replacement because of the big because of the big hail damage that I think it was April 7th. It was like really huge hail came down and that damaged the roof really bad and it was leaking. So we had to replace that. Too many things came at one time, and plus the COVID-19 and everything came at one time, hit us hard at one time. It's a reason.
Yeah. No, I understand. Can you do, I just think at some point when you replace the other windows, and I know I'm sort of thinking about this differently than I started, then, it would be great if they were the same window. And I don't think on the landmark, you'll get through with vinyl windows. And so maybe rethink.
Right.
Yeah, you're not, yeah, that's not,
No,
I
not at all.
doubt
No.
I
We will
doubt
never
that.
do
So I'm wondering if, you just broke it up into pieces and you did the rooms that were used.
Yeah.
And then you did it so that if we said, no to vinyl, you had a different strategy for spending the money where you could right now on a different window. I also encourage you to look at different manufacturers from Pella with the wood window. If you haven't looked at that, to just price them.
I have one more problem. The landmark has stained glass windows on the 2nd floor. They're broken up and I have to come back to for the next meeting to present that. So that's another big expense. So
well, I know, and that's like I haven't seen them, but that would be like, you should get a number to restore the stained glass as
definitely. Yeah.
And then,
definitely.
but it's just a big project, and I think everyone understands the expenses, and also that it's COVID and it's like, really difficult. But then maybe we should, I don't know, Mark, maybe we should vote.
Aiden, was there a difference in the warranties between the wood windows and the vinyl windows?
I think the warranties was about the same. They warranted about the same, but the price was big difference,
Yeah. All right. Well, I think I'd like to see us continue this. It just seems like there's a lot of difficult issues and questions about what can be reasonably afforded at this point in time, what might be deferred until it's less financially stressful time, and then coordinating with what the work that has to be done on the landmark. All right. Would somebody like to make a motion to continue till the next meeting?
Can I ask, what are we asking? I'm sorry, what are we asking him to do then for the next meeting? To investigate other windows and get pricing and see, is that what we're asking him?
Yeah, and also to consider whether doing some of the work over time to make it more affordable might allow a somewhat better quality product. Just kind of a different program, I think.
I move that we can issue continuance for the project at 1534 Wilder Street, case number 20 PRES-0304, for the replacement of the double hung windows with double hung vinyl, giving the applicant more time to research other options and to look into potentially changing how they might approach the project to the December 8th meeting.
Okay, thank you. A second?
A second.
Commissioner Hacker, second. Roll call vote, Commissioner Sullivan.
Aye.
Commissioner Bowden.
Aye.
Commissioner Reinhold.
Aye.
Commissioner Hacker.
Aye.
Commissioner Dudnick.
Aye.
Commissioner Idle.
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Aye.
I'm an aye. So you can, he's still on. You can stay in touch with Carlos, and there you are. Give Carlos any questions. He's able to get a hold of commissioners at least, one or two commissioners to seek advice. So that if you have ideas and want to, Carlos is there to help and try to shepherd this through, see, whether you'd really be ready at the next meeting. If it takes longer, it's certainly okay with us, rather do it better. But we appreciate the difficulty of the issue and the different considerations. So thanks for your effort.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Last matter of new business is 1206 Hinman Avenue.
Hi, my name is Paul Lang. I'm the homeowner, and I'll be speaking to that. So I've attached the historical survey just as a reference. I think the history of this home is a bit unique and something that I was thinking a lot, specifically thinking about standard number 4. As I thought about how to improve the exterior space. So that's if we take a step back and think about what is the goal of this, it's for us really to improve the exterior living space, mostly through rebuilding of some decks and some porches, and I can walk through that. If we could move actually just quickly to page 263. I can highlight this, or sorry, just real quickly on this one. So on standard 4, I just wanted to bring about some of the things I was thinking about. No doubt you guys are all very familiar with these issues. As I was saying, with the history of the home, it was originally built in 1853. It was later moved. And then in the early 20th century, there was an addition put on the rear of the home, and then it was that addition was wrapped in stucco, and then with that the entire house was wrapped in stucco. There was a hipped porch that was added at that time, and then later that front porch was enclosed. And so I thought a lot about these different aspects as I thought about what is unique or significant of this property as it sits within the historical district. Hopefully I'll kind of walk through what the proposal is, and hopefully it kind of keeps those elements that I've found to be significant. But just reading the bottom paragraph, the proposal serves to bring forward the home's original frame and finished materials through changes in siding material and patio door placements. You'll see specifically we're adding a patio door where the original 1850 home had the front entrance. We're keeping the existing roof line and speaking here to the porch roof line. The lower east elevation will be resided in fiber cement board. The intent here is to mimic the old wood siding that was present on the original home, while keeping a lot of the stucco siding on the remainder, the second story of the house, and then the entire west or rear of the home. The only other thing I'd like to say in terms of when I think about this property as it sits within the neighboring properties, it is on 1.5 lots, and so it's a rather wide lot, and so wanted to take advantage of that. And you can see that obviously through the new the new roof structures on the north and the south end. So if we can move to 270 first, and I know that's jumping around a little bit, but I just wanted to go through the current plat of survey and then the site plans. So what you'll see in this drawing are overlaid on top of the plat of survey are some different highlights. So in pink is basically where there will be a new roof structure. In blue is where there will be new deck. And by new decking, I also mean new foundation. So for example, if you looked at the east elevation of the home or the front elevation of the home, there is currently a front porch. That roof line and that foundation are in good condition and would remain, and would just get tied into the other sections of the porch. And then lastly, what you see in brown is intended to be either a walkway or stair. and so I just wanted to provide you this view first, so that you could understand, I guess, the layout in terms of needing to as you can see by the dimensions, all of this new construction would sit back further than 5 feet. So no issues with even a minor variance there. And then I wanted to quickly go through the elevations. So if we could go back up to, yeah, thank you. I'll just quickly go through these. So this is the east elevation, the front of the home. So as you can see, what are the details I'd point out? On the north side or the right-hand side of the picture, you'll see the front entrance and the walkway. You'll see the enclosed porch and then the wide window set that goes across there. And then over to the south or to the left, you would see that the concrete porch that I was referencing that exists today. This porch is in decay and falling apart. And in either case would get replaced with new footings and a deck. If we then move down to the proposed, just in the picture on the same page to the proposed. So keeping the stucco up on top, again the first floor of this elevation would become hardy board siding, fiber cement siding. You'll see new columns, and then I'd call out that patio door that I'd referenced earlier. So if you went back and looked at that original home, you would see the patio door on the left side of the house. And so the intent here is to kind of bring back that original look of the home. In addition, you'll see the stair has been moved to the north side of the elevation. And the intent here is, again, to overall to bring back that original frame. And so having the stair over to the side, I feel allows you to kind of see that original home in 1853. In terms of the roof lines, something I didn't point out here, the new structures would have about a 7/12 pitch, whereas the current porch structure that you see is more about a 4/12 pitch. So it's a little steeper, and I think that's evident from the pictures, but that's something that I just wanted to call out. The last thing I'll mention is the gutter system is currently there's aluminum gutters, and these were pretty much just fastened onto the edge of the old wood gutters, and then basically done a roof over of those old wood gutters. So the intent here would be to basically take away those aluminum gutters, pare back that roof, and try to restore, and if not, replace that old wood gutter system with on-site built aluminum gutters. So I can move. Thank you. So looking at the south elevation, so call out here is to some windows that are going to replace, some new French doors. Again, you'll see that structure, which I'm calling a 3-season room, that would sit on top of the decking. And then you see that large deck that sits out instead of the porch today. I'll also point out that, again, speaking to the stucco and the fiber cement, you can see the stucco is actually not only on the second floor in this view, but on the southwest elevation. You can see it as it protrudes out. The house actually indents underneath those piers, and that would all be fiber cement. And then on the southeast side, that would be fiber cement as well. Moving to so this is the rear of the home, or the west side. From a stucco perspective, this is currently stucco and would remain. The biggest change here is really just that rear deck is enlarged relative to where it is today. And again, this is it would be a screened-in porch, and the intent is, again, just to overall improve the exterior living space of the property. you can see the other views for the north and the south roof structures. And then just on the this last view, oh, sorry, could you go back one? Thank you. On the last view, you can see that new entrance that would go up into the current existing doorway. And then again, calling out the fiber cement siding on that first floor section only. As it turns the corner and butts into the house, that's where the fiber cement board would end, and the current stucco would remain. And then, so I can leave it there and answer any questions. There's some additional details on the following pages. Some of just 3D views or views of trim details. For example, one of the views, for example, calls out the wood gutter system, and then some pictures of the exterior of the house. So yeah, look forward to your feedback. I wanted to thank Carlos for all of his feedback. I'm not an architect, and so I've tried to understand what it is that you all would be looking for, and put forward a proposal that hopefully meets those qualifications.
You okay to give comments, Mark?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I have a lot of trouble with these drawings because they're sort of still diagrammatic. There's no like floor plans to actually see where all these things are going, and the detailing of some of these porch roofs seems really diagrammatic. So that's where I'm coming from. It's like, where are the floor plans of the porches and the elevations, and we're just sort of seeing these renderings. So that, I'm having a problem with that. I don't know if anyone else is, but.
So are you looking
If
for
I
more
say,
sorry, go ahead.
if I just might say, the city is asking for, I'm not to request plans. If you recall, we have an issue with that about a year and a half
I'm
ago.
talking about the exterior, not the interior. So when you're looking at the exterior with the existing house and where the porches are and the stairs and all of that, there's just information for me as an architect that's missing to completely understand that. I'm not talking about the interior of the house. I understand that we're not privy to that. But I think some of these renderings, it's just, they're the roofs, and I mean, so anyway, that's my 2 cents.
What could I do to help with that?
Don't you need an architect? Okay, so this is a question. Don't you need an architect actually, if you're gonna do something like this? How would you build it? Like, what's the working drawing? Like, how would you're just gonna, how do you think you'd progress through this to make this real?
Yep. So I have from this. So this is built up in SketchUp, and then using a program called Layout, I have more dimensions that I could definitely provide you all. In terms of progressing through a permit, I've spoken to the permit office, and it's my understanding for decks that they are willing to take homeowner drawings, and so I'm that. In short, that's how I'm looking to progress through getting a permit. But I do have more details if you would like in terms of dimensions that I could provide.
I think it's, I'm just looking at the intersections of all these roofs, and I just don't think they're figured out. So I don't know. Maybe someone else wants to comment.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand all of what you're doing. I mean, Julie, you didn't quite get there in the question that I might have asked or started with, because I thought, when I first saw the original description, that we are going to be looking at changing some openings and opening up seemingly that front area which was closed in and making it an open porch. But there seems to be a lot more going on. You've got this deck, you've got these columns, you've got, I mean, when we're looking at sheet 268 here, you've got this projection coming out beyond the stairs. There's all these funny little structures that are bumping out on the sides of the building. I don't know whether they're entries. I mean, that's part of your problem, Julie, I think, of knowing where do they go. And if we go back a couple of, I don't know who's controlling this, Carlos or Scott? I mean, if we look at any, well, let's go to the first of these. I guess it's the east one. You know, I look at the top, I look at the bottom, and it's one thing to say I've opened up the front porch, but then there's this closed structure over on the left. And I'm not quite clear what that is or where that came from. That's no longer, you're just opening up your front porch. If we keep, and then on the right side of this drawing, again, we've got something extending out into who knows where. I'm not quite sure where the original house is anymore. And I went back and kept looking at the picture of the old house. And this doesn't seem to be that you're bringing it back to what it was before the 1970 additions. If we keep going through the next one, you know, I still don't understand that boxed in closed structure over on the right-hand side. And a lot of these other changes, I mean, you're changing window openings, you're extending decks around it. There's a dormer that suddenly appears on the roof on the south elevation. If we keep going, the rear, again, we see what I guess is that same, I don't know what it is. Is it a little gazebo that's closed in over on the side? I think you made a comment about a 3-season room. Was that the one?
That's right.
And there's all these other things. I mean, there's major changes. Let's go to the last one. I guess that's the last elevation. Again, all sorts of changes. Now, one of the problems is we don't really know what was the original house, but and no one's asking you to try to preserve that if it's completely been buried by, you know, 100 years of stucco and new windows. But I'm not quite clear that there's any architectural image here or anything that's driving all of this stuff. It seems as if you just wanted all of these things that you then collect on the next sheet. I think it's the next one, you know, where you show us all these details, and it's as if, here's my chance. I'm sorry to put it this way, but here's my chance to put these all on this house. I'm just not clear what's going on here.
Okay.
I don't understand what any of this is in relation to the original historic home.
Right. So it,
Right.
yeah,
Sorry, Matt.
it's fine. Go ahead.
So yeah, so you're right. There are more changes than just opening up of the porch, and that's why I've tried to call those changes out within the document. Secondly, in terms of how does this relate to the original home? You know, on one hand, I think taking it back that the home is not, you know, half of it has been added to since the 1800s, right? It's been morphed over the years, and one of the things, again, that I struggled with is understanding, especially as it relates to Standard 4, you know, what is considered significant for this home? What is it that, you know, is if you will, I shouldn't change. So when I thought about that, you know, again, the things that stood out to me were the hipped porch, and frankly, if you look at the roof design, the main roof is a very boring, if you will, you know, rectangular shaped roof that extends to the back. You know, those were items that I thought were significant. You know, something else that was significant, again, was the size of the property in relation to its neighbors. And so I wanted to take advantage of that because I think that is something significant. And so that's one reason why you see the extension on the north side of that covered entrance. The other intent was, if you looked again at that original frame, by taking away that front porch, you know, the idea is to bring in that frame of the home and then move the patio door over to where that original door entrance was. If you looked at the molding, the window molding, it's more in line, I think, with what the house originally looked like. And so that's something that I was motivated by. The three-season room is absolutely new. You're right. It's again, the intent, as I've tried outlining in the beginning, was to improve the exterior living space. And when we discussed what we wanted on the south end of the deck, you know, we thought an enclosed gazebo. You could call it a gazebo. You could call it a three-season room, but something. You know, we don't live in Arizona, and so something that was a bit enclosed, we thought would be convenient to that living space.
Now, this first of all, this house is just a contributing house to the historic district. It's not a landmark, correct?
Correct.
And I think the fact that we have the, you know, historic pictures, you know, when I look at this kind of the center of the plan, I think I'm looking at 264 now, I guess. And, you know, I can see, particularly bringing back the hardy plank and whatever, it's like, you know, I definitely get a sense of the original house as it was built, and then, you know, it was changed. You know, if we take off the, okay, you guys can't see me. So on the left of this proposed, is the three-season room on the right or the left? First of all.
So which on the east elevation, it would be on the left. So it's on the southeast side of the property.
Okay, and then what is on the right of the property?
That's just a covered, that's just a basically another roof structure that mimics what you see on the south side.
Okay.
And it's just the new entrance is going to be on the north side of the property, and so that's just a covered stairway.
Okay. Because I think that, I mean, there are a lot of good things going on here also. And some, you know, that nod to, you know, some of the original pictures you have. But I was also looking at standard 3, which is all properties, structures, sites should be recognized as products of their own time. Alterations to sites, buildings, structures, or objects that have no historic basis should be discouraged. So some of what you're doing definitely has historic basis, you know, and you can make that argument, and that's great. I think maybe some of what people are having problems adjusting to are some of the additional additions. You know, you have alterations going on, and then you have additions going on.
Yep.
And I don't know, I'm just kind of speaking some of the thoughts that are going through my head. I mean, because I think some of the stuff we said already is, you know, is all negative, and I definitely don't think it's all negative. So there's some, you know, you have some historic basis for some of the things that are going on. I mean, I would ask the commissioners if, you know, if we simplified it a little bit, and, you know, if is the issue the three-season rooms and the, you know, the new structures coming off the house that are.
I think it needs to be, I'm not saying that the design with the porch is not, I think it's a good thing. I think that we need a site plan showing carefully all the additions you are making. We need to see the elevations with all the new windows you're putting in. So what I would be looking for is what we usually, you know, it's sort of what we typically get, which is we get these 3D renderings sometimes, but we also are getting a package so we can clearly identify on the site plan, you know, this site plan is so small, it's hard to know where your porches are, where all the new elements are, so that like we can actually evaluate the different pieces, because there is a lot going on that you're adding. So for me, it's in the actual documentation of this for a COA and how I can understand and read it and then talk about the individual pieces. Because there's a lot of stuff you're adding, and it's really hard. Like, you can describe it, but it's hard for us to like visually go back and, well, for me, to go back and forth between the existing and what's coming off and what's staying. And then this other building that's a little building that's a porch that's actually not, that's an enclosed porch, the gazebo, all of that stuff. I think you need more drawing, quite frankly, to convince this, at least me as a commissioner or Elliot as a commissioner, what you are actually doing so we can look at it. And that's where I'm coming from. It's really the presentation for me right now, before I can even begin to evaluate it all. It's not the design necessarily.
Okay, no, that's great feedback. I mean, I definitely can add more detail in terms of the elevations, the roof pitch, the site plans. I can get more granular there, and bring it back. It would be good to know before I did that the overall design was not too know, offensive to the committee before I put in that effort. But I absolutely can come back with those details.
I don't know, because I'm still trying to figure out where the pieces are.
Paul, can I ask a couple of questions?
I mean, I guess I look at it as it definitely has a very unusual history with the kind of the Greek Revival original 19th century house kind of transformed in the early 20th century with this almost prairie school kind of hip roof wraparound porch and addition. So it's already kind of an assemblage of different parts and pieces. I think, to me, when I look at the east elevation and I see the little side gazebo piece and the other little porch roof extension on the other side, I feel like those are just another layer of pieces added onto this that don't relate to anything. I really struggle with those other extensions. It's already sort of, the Greek Revival house is lost inside of this hip roof wraparound that they did in the 20th century, and then you're just adding even more parts and pieces onto that wraparound porch that really don't relate to anything. I have a tough time with those other extensions. The porch itself, I'm not certain about at this point. Certainly when they did it at stucco with the kind of cantilever roof originally in 1910 or whenever that dates to, that had a certain look. You're rebuilding it with columns and a railing and a more open porch, which is maybe more in keeping with the 19th century look, but at the same time, that's not a porch that ever existed here. So I have mixed feelings about that, I guess. The other thing I have kind of mixed feelings about is using hardy board siding on part of the house and stucco on the rest. Again, it's kind of mixing the two different periods. It never really had both of those at the same time. It was all wood siding and then they changed it to all stucco. And while I'm not saying you can't have a blend of two materials, I don't know quite how I feel about that yet. Again, it's kind of transforming it into something that never existed historically. And it's tough to judge all of those changes at this point with this level of detail.
Okay. Could I ask, so the porch is existing, just I want to make sure that is known, that you're absolutely right that the look of the porch would change, but the front porch is existing. The comment on the stucco and the siding, absolutely understood. You said something in the beginning, which is, I think, very much in my mind, what, this house has, originally Greek Revival, been moved, stucco, it has this mixture. And in a way, the stucco plus hardy board was kind of, the intent was to kind of honor that, to say, look, this has been one house that, the original front half of the house was actually wood siding, and then the back half was stucco. So just that was the intent.
I think that of the two photos that you have of the old house, I would tend to want to ignore the first one, the one on the left, because I think that house is long gone. I mean, that's the best way to put it. The thing about the second one, and I don't know when, I think, Ken, you think it's 1910 maybe? We don't really know.
The picture's from the 1970s.
Yeah, but I don't think that was
Yeah.
done in 1970. I think
Oh,
it's,
no.
Yeah, it's definitely quite old already at that point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think so.
19
And there was one of the questions I was going to ask, because I zoomed in on it, and it strikes me that it's almost as if that that porch that wraps around, that looks like there's a main stair coming up over there on the south side. And at the main entry that you now have on the east is not really where they used to enter the house, or at least they may not have when they wrapped it around. I mean, you've got a little bit of that, but I think a part of it is that regardless of the change, and I don't know that I'd honor the old house because I'm not sure much of it's left, especially you look at the window details and the arches and whatever was going on. But there's a language, and we talk about a language, and we can talk about a grammar, and we can talk about a style, and there was a consistency. And I think something, as Ken, as you were talking about it, a lot of it has to do with that what we're looking at now is not a consistent language and not a consistent anything. I mean, whether you're saying you're honoring number one or number two or both, I'm not sure you're honoring either one. And I think, you're trying to introduce something new because that's what you'd like to have. The language that drove your design of the porch has nothing to do with what's ever been there before. You seem to be seeing a porch that you'd like to have. I want to have a nice wooden open porch with columns coming down to the ground, and whether it's trellised at the bottom or not. And a lot of these are features that you seem to want to have, but don't necessarily derive from what's already there. And I think what it really needs is sort of looking at the whole thing as a consistent whole. And I think, Ken, you made the comment about a whole bunch of little pieces. I'm not sure if that's exact. You can correct me on your wording of that. But I think it is that point that these are just a lot of little things attached to this house, and they're not consistent. And it needs just looking at it as a whole and not as a series of things. I'd like to have this on the left and this on the right and this at the front, and let's extend the front, the stairs out further and extend the roof out a little further than that. That's why it ends up looking like a collection, and why I think Julie is trying to say, I need to see some drawings to figure out what the hell this is, because I'm not quite clear where all these pieces are coming from.
I have to say, I agree with some of what you're saying, or the fact of simplifying might be better or whatever, but the very first thing you said, Elliot, I sort of disagree with, because, the openings, the core structure of the house is still there. They just took that and added on to it. So, by taking off some of the features, you kind of get a sense of the Greek revival peeking out, but the problem is maybe the kind of trying to combine the two. It's kind of like you have to go one way or the other, and not get too complex. Because I think, all the, when you look at the front facade of the house, those are I might be wrong, but it appears to me those are the same, that slight, the openings of the windows and stuff are in the same.
And look at where the front door is on the original house.
Yep. Yeah, that's where the patio door is.
That's where, yeah.
It's completely on the other side of the house.
On the original?
Yeah, it's it's on the left as you approach it, and you're now coming in on the right.
Correct. But that's why I've inserted a patio door there. That's the intentional placement of the patio door. So I'm moving the front end. That's also, though, why I'm moving that stairway over to the side, so that you have more of a, if you will, a solid front on that east elevation. And then that patio door, instead of, you could do a window there, for example, but we intentionally chose to do a patio door to mimic what you see on the original home. The the entrance isn't changing from where it is today. But you're absolutely right that the entrance today is different than where it was in the original.
Where is the entrance?
It's on the northeast side. So if you go back to
Yeah, I'm looking at 260.
look at 264.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that the entrance, or is the entrance around the corner?
The entrance is on the right hand side. You see the door
Yeah,
entrance
I
and the
see
stair.
it. That's why I'm asking. It's in an extended portion of the house that didn't exist.
That's correct. And well, yeah, it's likely to have existed, but you don't know.
They bumped out the house to build that entry.
That's likely.
And where does that, and this goes to Julie's question, where does that entry go?
Yeah.
It's still there. It's just the stair to that entry is on the north side.
But where does it go when you go up through the current entry? Does it go into the porch area?
Correct. There's a porch area, a front porch area. You can see that if we went back to the plat, maybe you could see it there. But there's a front porch area that you'd walk in. So you can see basically where the stair ends, and then where I've highlighted in blue on that northeast side. The reason I've highlighted, there is a porch there with a stair, but I've highlighted in blue because in order to extend it and get the full wrap around, that northeast porch is likely to have to at least get one, if not two more piers.
Okay, well, this goes to the question of not being able to see what's going on inside. I guess, one question is whether the new porch you're proposing, how does that relate to what's there now inside? Are you simply removing a porch and the facade you're depicting under the new porch is exactly what's already there?
On the east elevation, that's true.
Well, let's look at 267. That's your north. Now, your entry is coming in from the east, but you've got this extended new roof covering over front entrance stairs, but I come up those stairs and I don't find a door.
You have to go into the right.
You go up the stairs and turn right 90 degrees.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to understand that whole element. I guess I don't know where the front of the house is anymore. And I think Julie, you were right in the beginning about we need to understand where things are as to why they are where they are.
So you're saying like basically we need him to take his like slide 270 and make it a little clearer, like.
No, I think we need
a real plan drawing. We need a real porch plan or site plan drawing.
A real site plan. Yeah, real plans. I don't care about the interior, like, and then an elevation showing like where are the new windows and where the, so, just to go through this so we are not asking these questions, you can tell how it's really hard. Like it's just hard. You can hear it. It's hard for us to understand everything that's going on.
Yeah,
so
the answer to my question, by the way, appears if you go to 268, and you'll suddenly discover over on the upper right that's when you discover where the front entrance is, but you wouldn't have known it from the elevations, and I think that's the problem.
And I think the concern isn't just, part of it is we need to understand, but I think the concern is what's really going to be built. The plans look like a beautiful idea, and the decision about whether to approve very different non-historic front porches is a hard one. But I do personally think the plans, in broad concept look beautiful, but I just don't have any faith that as to what's actually going to be built and what it's really going to look like when it's built.
Well, that raises one other question for you, Mark. You've raised it, which is, if this is not the architectural plans that are going in for the permit, then approving what you see here now, and then he, despite the notion that they told him he doesn't need any architectural whatever to draw this, that means that whatever is being approved here, it'll never be seen by the commission again if there's any major changes.
So again, there are construction documents that have been built off of this drawing in SketchUp using layout. I had those construction documents ready, and it was my understanding that those details weren't necessarily what the commission would be looking for. I can absolutely provide those details.
Okay, could I just say something? We did review the documents, before we were reviewing them to make sure that the commission can understand them. And there were sort of these drawings, maybe, that were very difficult for Susie, if you want to speak up about this. They were difficult to read, and we wanted to make sure that that the commission could see the existing and the new and the changes side by side. But they were not easy. I'm just going to say this, like, they were not easy to read. Like, the commission, those drawings were actually more, I thought, difficult to read, which is probably what Carlos conveyed to you. So I don't know. Susie, are you there? I don't see you.
I'm here.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the exploded construction drawings?
Yes.
So Paul, I think Commissioner Hacker is referring to, we saw your exploded construction layout. I don't know if that's what you're talking about when you talk about the layout drawings.
That's what we saw.
I don't think if that's what you're talking about specifically, I don't think that will help clarify your design. I do think the addition in your application of the existing next to the proposed was definitely an improvement from what we saw previously.
Agreed.
So I think you're definitely heading in the right direction of the information that needs to be conveyed. I think what is being asked for would be more of line drawings that you probably have seen tonight from other applicants, is what I believe several commissioners are asking for. A dimensioned, accurate, precise site plan drawing with the footprint of your building and the porches, as well as elevation drawings that are potentially accurate line drawings.
Okay, that's fine. I can add all that. This has all been, everything you see, even though it's not to, I guess, the standard you were looking for, it is all correctly dimensioned in SketchUp. So I can add those details.
Paul, maybe if you, I do think this is helpful, like that if you, I don't know if you were on for the whole time, but, there's some drawings I can, that were clear that we could read pretty quickly. Like, I think, I don't know if you were here to see them in terms of what we're sort of used to seeing in terms of plans and elevations. And I mean, this is complicated. If this was just a front porch, I think we might be able to evaluate it in a 3D kind of way, but it isn't. And so that's why I'm asking for more drawings. So, but to give you that, if you have seen them tonight, I don't know if you were on, or Carlos could maybe share a package with you.
I think tonight was not the best night to see good examples.
Well, like Reichardt's or Amy Reichardt's.
Too many of it, yeah, that was, but I mean, most
Amy
of
Reichardt's, like, you could see, there was a 3D and then you could see the elevations and you saw the footprint and, so, so it's not that, it's not like we wouldn't be evaluating other details, but it would be clear. We wouldn't have to ask all these questions.
Yeah, I think a set of drawings, which I don't think we saw tonight, which shows each facade and identifies exactly what's changing on that facade, which is, taking further what you've already started. But I think that's what we're used to seeing. I mean, like on the front porch facade, what's there now on the inside versus what's, in your drawings is just something we don't know at all.
Just something I wanted to say real quick. The reason I had also called out the SketchUp document was just there was a comment earlier that what you see here is not going to be part of the construction documents. And I just kind of wanted to nip that in the bud. That what you see here is integrated into the construction documents. There's no intent to deceive, if you will, the commission in presenting you something here that would be different from the construction docs. But you have raised something which is interesting in terms of the front porch. Because the front porch is enclosed today, I didn't know how that detail should be brought to your attention, because I didn't know from your perspective, you were basically blind to what it is today, and it's only what it is going to look like in the future. And so that's why I hadn't provided that detail.
Uh-huh.
So I understand.
Yeah, right. You show the existing, even with that big clunky thing on the front that's burying the house. You show the existing, and then you show your proposed. So so that we absolutely understand, oh, this was covered up or whatever, and then this is the new that you can look at it side by side.
Yep.
But I would say to you, in terms of like where you're getting some of your vocabulary, and then I'm just looking at if the SketchUp, like your columns, like where is that coming from? That's kind of a Victorian detail. I don't really know. And so I think as you're thinking about this, like where is this vocabulary coming from? And if you're inventing it, it seems that you are, but that's a question that you have to, it will be asked again. Someone will ask, well, where does that come from? Where is that detailing coming from?
Yeah, that's okay.
So I'm just saying, so
I'm not going to get the right verbiage. Again, I'm not, I'm sure I'm saying things incorrectly and referencing things incorrectly.
I also think that you're really depending on something that I'm really having doubts about, and I'll ask that of Scott, wherever he is up there. I'm not seeing him on my screen right now. It strikes me that this is much too complex and many more things going on that you could get a permit by just using these kind of SketchUp drawings or something like it. I mean, there's a lot of structural changes and all the rest, and structural construction that you can't just say, I'm building a deck. And that may have been what you presented to whoever you spoke to in the permit area. But this is not, I'm building a deck.
No. These are not construction documents. To be clear,
who's making the construction documents was the question. And
I
you
am.
said, okay. So you're saying you can do it, but what vehicle do you have for doing that? I mean, you're saying I don't need an architect. I can be my own architect, I think, is what you've implied.
I'm saying the city allows me, from my understanding of talking with the Preservation Committee, the permit office, the city allows me as the homeowner to put forward these types of changes. As you can see, it's something that I was interested in doing.
Uh-huh. I think you have to have a structural engineer for there's certain things that you would have to hire someone to do that, because this is much more, this is not just a front deck.
I have the footing. Yeah. So, I mean, I can get a structural consultant to come in and look at the drawings. I have a few contacts there. In terms of the footings, this is something that has been discussed. I can provide those details. I wasn't aware that was something that was.
No, it isn't. It's not for us. No. I think Ellie's just asking you, I think
going forward,
just moving forward, that there's a lot of stuff here. So, but that's sort of, so maybe that's out of our purview. We're just trying to figure out how it's getting built. But anyway.
And I think I'd like to hear from Commissioner Reinhold and Idle and whatever, just so that we're giving clear guidance going forward, since Commissioner Hacker and Elliot and Julie might be reviewing it. Want to be clear guidance on what we want him to come back with.
I'm still there, yeah.
So number one is the massing and what kind of volumes are appropriate to add to this house. Does it make sense to do an open porch on the footprint of the existing porch, and then if you start expanding beyond that footprint with these other parts and pieces, what do those relate to, and what's the logic to go beyond the existing footprint? I think it needs to really you need to really look at kind of the rhythm and the spacing of some of these things. I look at the sketch of the proposed front porch, and it doesn't look like any of the columns are the same distance apart. There's kind of a irregularity there. Why is that? What does that relate to? What's the source for this porch design? Again, it's taking the footprint of a kind of prairie school wraparound porch that had a much different appearance with the stucco and kind of the cantilevered broad hip roof overhang, and then you're turning it into a porch supported by columns that go all the way out to the corners, so it has a much different feel and shape to it. And just the massing and the rhythm and the materials and the detailing of all of that needs some work. And then having a convincing understanding of how the house has evolved and what that means for it to go forward is really the goal, to emphasize the Greek revival kind of 19th century character. And that's why you're going to open wood trim and hardy board siding and so on. Or is it thought of in those terms and the stucco is kind of on its way out? Or is it a hybrid in some way? And what does it mean if it's a hybrid? So I think there's a lot of things to think about still on this, and a lot of design decisions that I don't understand the rationale for really, and that don't seem to really relate to this house successfully.
Okay.
And just just a couple notes administratively, just for the application for the certificate. I would go ahead then and add in the additional things that aren't present here right now, because you are asking us to go ahead and review and approve the roof dormer that is added, the new window openings, and that new 3-season room. So, go on and include like all of those aspects that are there, because I do feel like it's more than just a new porch. I wanted to go back also just on a note where Commissioner Hacker was talking about the vocabulary for those columns and some of the other details. I just wanted to clarify that for you. When we're talking about vocabulary in terms of these conversations, is typically talking about the architectural style that's being presented, and not words necessarily. In this case, the words are the architectural features that are being presented. And so where did the style of those columns come from? How do those relate to the existing style or vocabulary of the existing building? And where did those come from? And one of our hopes, I think, is just to understand where, what that existing vocabulary or that existing style, how that fed into the new words or the new elements, architectural elements that you're presenting in the new design. And so that's what we were talking about when we mentioned vocabulary, just to clarify for you.
Yep, understood. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, it's getting late. Why don't we continue? Would somebody like to bring a motion to continue this to our next meeting?
I guess it's my turn. I'll move that we continue the project at 1206 Hinman Avenue to the December 8th meeting, is it? Yes.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Commissioner Sullivan?
Aye.
Commissioner Boudin?
Aye.
Commissioner Reinhold?
Aye.
Commissioner Hacker?
Aye.
Commissioner Dudnick?
Aye.
Commissioner Idle?
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Aye.
And I'm an aye also. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So I don't know, Scott, could you take down the, I don't know if we need to see the minutes. I guess it'd be good just to be able to see everybody. Thank you.
You got them in the mail.
Yeah.
There were
So do we
very
still
few
maybe let Paul and Tony sign off?
Tony, oh, is that him still?
Is Tony still there?
He's muted, but it still shows that he's there.
Or she.
No, that was him, or that was his.
We were speaking with Paul Lang.
All right. Well, maybe we should just, well, there's still on for the moment. I guess we could talk about the minutes if you want to. Carlos?
Thank you. I received from and Julie their comments or edits, and there were very few, so they were minimal. I would like to ask the commissioners to approve the October 13, 2020, as edited by Julie and by Elliot.
Okay.
I move that we approve the minutes as amended and as edited.
Second?
Any others that any other commissioners may still choose to add if they wish.
Okay, second by Aleka. I guess we need a roll call vote. Commissioner Sullivan.
Aye.
Commissioner Bodan.
Aye.
Commissioner Reinhold.
Aye.
Commissioner Hacker.
Aye.
Commissioner Dudnick.
Aye.
Commissioner Idle.
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt.
I was absent, so I'll abstain.
Okay, you can abstain and I'm an aye. Okay, thank you. All right, maybe at this point, I'll just give a tribute. We have 3 commissioners, Elliot, Tim, and Julie, whose last meeting is tonight. And they've done an amazing job and made amazing contributions to the commission. I do not know how we'll survive without them. The meetings may be a little shorter, which is in part a good thing, but I think will reflect we don't have the same.
Well, if you don't get a quorum.
We don't have the same, we'll no longer have the same level of expertise, and we'll miss them dearly as people and as experts in their field. I don't know if, I know at least Julie wanted to say a word.
I just wanted, yeah, it's been 6 years. Anyway, I just wanted, you guys are all great and I know you'll carry on. And I wanted to just remind everybody about our retreat that we had and the things that, that we have accomplished, but the things that are still out there that maybe think about. So like the guidelines, the solar guidelines, which are coming up, you know, yay, Aleka, yay, you know, those are kind of done right now. The Susie and I have been doing this pre-review, which I think is helpful. The last one was complicated. It was complicated for us when we looked at it. So anyway, but I think that's been helpful. That's been going on. That's a really good thing. The other things that were outstanding from that retreat were the whole website. And I think Jamie was gonna like work on that, but she hasn't. I would encourage you all to still make that still should be a priority and not go away. And then the other thing that we talked about was, and I know COVID and everything has made things so difficult, but we talked about working with the city in terms of how we might get more support. And those 2 things I would encourage you to like continue to think about and not just let that all go. And you know, but anyway, so that's what I want to say. But really, I'm so happy this is my last. But I am gonna miss everybody. And Elliot, you know, I complained about you at the beginning, but you are a great asset, and I mean it to this commission. That was a compliment.
You're here.
No word.
Anyway, but really, so carry on. And Carlos? Mwah.
Yes. Thank you.
Apparently,
if I might add something really quick.
For bringing in a project.
Sorry, go ahead.
You want to say something, Elliot?
We can't hear you, Elliot.
I thought that maybe Julie was planning to retire and was never going to bring another project in for preservation.
No, I'll be.
I've been waiting because I had a client and Scott had implied, or somebody had implied, that you couldn't come in when you were a commissioner. So I'd been holding off, and then my clients in the middle of the project have decided to buy a second home in addition to their Evanston one in New Orleans, and now I may never be coming in with that project. Some of you may be off. It's been going on since 2014, so I don't know what's going to happen. It's been a lot of fun. Some of you haven't been around as long as the two of us now. Well, Tim has. That remember the first year or two were really pretty startling for us. It seemed as if we walked into Northwestern and Edgemere Court. And somehow Edgemere Court never went away. And every time I see something on Edgemere Court in the agenda, I go, "Oh my God, not again!" You know, I think.
Absolutely.
Oh God, I mean, all of us went through that. It's been an enlightening experience, and it's been interesting to watch the changes on the commission. A lot of it is who, you know, the different attitudes. I think that's what all of you really bring. And I don't think the citizenry appreciates that people are coming in with very, very different attitudes. I'm saying this in terms of the commissioners. None of you look at it the same way. I think the public thinks we're all homogeneous and we're just, you know, this or this and nothing in between. And you have to educate them. I think that notion of educating is that we're really trying to work with them. I mean, even this last one, but I think, and some of you have gone through some pretty grim ones already in your year or two there. Susie's smiling; she must remember them. Ken knows them all. But it's been a great education, and it was. I mean, somewhere, by the way, in about year 4, all of you will say, "Can I just quit?"
Wait, just remember the rabbi, the synagogue. Oh my God, I'm just remembering that.
Oh, he wasn't bad.
He was really nice, but the synagogue? Okay, anyway, whatever, sorry.
What's remarkable is that I go past some places now that we've fought with these people forever, and they've never been built.
Yep. The similar project in Hinman.
Oh, I wasn't even thinking about that. I was thinking of that house across the street from Beth Emmet on the north side of Dempster.
Yeah.
A couple of those.
Yeah, I
And
look at that all the time.
the guy with the extra yard and all the rest, it's never been built.
Well, that one has. That one, there's one that's across from Beth Emmet that is, yes.
There's
Remember
one-
he had the magazine picture and,
Oh, there's the one
anyway.
further up the block. Trust me, it's not there.
Anyway.
I look, but I think it's remarkable, and I also want to say that a lot of these people actually do appreciate. But you may not believe it, but when you talk to some of them off the record, they actually appreciate what commissioners have done for them. They just don't tell the public that. That's what Mark has to live with. Anyway, it's been nice, and we don't have any cookies and goodies to share. So,
you know, an empty glass, a toast.
I have a water bottle. Anyway, now it's Tim's turn.
Oh, I echo those same sentiments. Thanks, everyone. 6 years is a long time. I can't even. I forgot that it had even been that long. I still remember the first meeting with Julie where we showed up at our same first meeting together.
Oh, remember we were sitting there and it was like, I was trying to find trying to find the problem like right away. Yeah. Like, I don't see this door here, right?
I've learned a lot. I've enjoyed, I mean, my first term, I was very active, and, I know this last year, many of you probably don't even recognize me, some of the new people. And so thank you, Mark, for the kind words and including me in this great company with Julie and Elliot, who are amazing contributors and do a ton at not only these meetings, but also behind the scenes and everything. So, but it has been great. It's been a great learning experience for me, and I do enjoy contributing to the city and to help in this area. So, but on to the next thing.
Yes.
Mark, if I might have a second to express my gratitude to all the 3 commissioners. It's a learning experience for me to deal with each one of you, because like Elliot said, everybody has a different perspective and how things should be looked at, which allows me to bring that information to the applicants. And in many respects, what you see in your packets is not what I originally received. And then some of them really take to heart what we recommend. And particularly since we are now doing the pre-meeting, I have a better sense, how the applicants should approach the project. And again, it's difficult when we're not dealing necessarily always with the architects. We have people who can and have done the drawings. They have their own limitations as far as resources. And so I think your experience as architects, and I would say Tim as a person who's not an architect, but is a landmark owner, appreciates a different level how applicants feel or expect from the commission. So I think all that together is a very valuable asset that we have. So I want to thank you again for your last 6 years of giving us all that feedback directly. Thank you.
Okay.
Like I said, I'll be succinct and just echo those comments that thank you all for your service. Personally, I've learned a lot from you guys and your time on the commission. I said when I got here, I was not a preservationist, but I grew up in a landmark house in Evanston, so I know some of the inside of it, maybe more than the outside. But certainly learned a lot from everyone, and thank you guys again for all your service in these years.
I'm planning to ride off there. If you're
On a camel.
Camel.
That's me in front, by the way. That actually is me.
All right. Carlos, you want to take us through the rest of the agenda?
Oh, yes, there's still more.
Sure. Thank you.
I know.
Yeah. Is the rules and procedures. You got the version where we added article with the solar lines, that is version 8.1, with all the revisions that Aleka and Julie put together, and we presented those to the Environmental Board and the Utilities Commission, and at the end we were able to get their endorsement. So it's now your decision to incorporate those guidelines into some procedures so that we can implement them and with applicants.
So do we need to vote on this now?
If you, well, they are now part of it as a draft, and if you as a commission decide to adopt them, then it will be, part of the rules and procedures officially.
Yes, there should be a motion to amend the rules.
Okay, great. Aleka, since you did the great amount of work, do you want to move to adopt them? The change to the.
Or should Julie, as her last outgoing?
We could do it together.
You go for it, Julie.
I make a motion that we adopt the guidelines for solar, I don't even know what they're called anymore. The solar guidelines for preservation solar guidelines. What are they called, Carlos?
Preservation
Incorporation of guidelines for solar installations.
Preservation guidelines for solar installations.
Yeah, it was really very long.
I'll second it.
It's the IGSI.
Okay, so I guess we need an actual vote. So Commissioner Sullivan?
Yes.
Commissioner Bodan?
Oh, yeah.
Commissioner Reinhold?
Aye.
Commissioner Hacker?
Aye.
Commissioner Dudnick?
Aye.
Commissioner Idall?
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Aye.
And I'm aye. Okay, thank you.
Yay.
Yay.
All right. So congratulations. So the next item will be the nomination of Preservation Commission officers for 2021. So traditionally, we give you a month to think about whether to continue in your current position, or if you'd like to nominate someone, or if you'd like to nominate yourself. Elliot was our, well, still is our secretary.
You were?
Mark, our chair, and
all the time.
we have Ken, so we have a vacant seat at the moment. We have a vacant seat. Officially, the last day as commissioners is November 20th. So I also understand that Julie has volunteered to continue doing the pre-meeting reviews. Is that still an offer on the table, Julie?
Yeah, as long as Susie keeps doing it with me.
Okay. So anyway, next month I will remind you via email to put the names forward, and so that in January, no, we're going to have the elections in December, so started in January we have the new officers for 2021. That will be my report for tonight.
And I believe I'm also term limited off in the middle of next year, so I don't think I should be vice chair in 2021, because otherwise it would open up mid-year. So I don't know how that's usually handled.
So if people are, like Elliot and I can't make recommendations though. Can we like? No, right? No, we can't, sorry.
We can't vote on them either, I don't think.
Doesn't leave
We can't
leave a lot of
nominate.
commissioners.
Who's left?
Yeah, is there going to be a quorum
Julie,
left?
We have Stuart submitted his documentation for the appointment to the committee?
Yeah.
Good.
No, he's
So-
like, yeah, he did all that paperwork. He told me he submitted it.
Okay, so I haven't heard anything from the manager's office yet, but I will check on, we can have him on
He
board.
told me he
the
did.
December 8th meeting.
Carlos and Scott, maybe we could, maybe
Well,
we
just
could-
wait, you guys. You're like happy I'm coming off and Elliot coming.
Your husband's coming on, Julie?
Yeah,
He'll be great.
they'll replace Elliot. Carlos and Scott, maybe we could talk this week about renewing the efforts to seek more commissioners. As I told you in the email, I inquired again about the application that was made by a prospective commissioner that seemed great that I never heard back on, and I don't, I'm sure the mayor has tons to do, but maybe we could noodle about the best way to approach without being obnoxious, because it's been a little frustrating that we're not getting answers. Although in the middle of a pandemic, I can understand.
What is the status? There are applications in, they just haven't been appointed by the mayor?
Well,
Or
it seemed, we had 3 applications, and I had emailed with the mayor about approving all 3. And then, my argument was that would leave 2 spaces for people of diverse backgrounds or whatever he wanted. And he emailed back very enthusiastically. And then for whatever reason, 2 of the people were nominated to city council and not the 3rd. But one of the 2 nominated turned out to have, the Evanston address he submitted was was a business address, not a home address. So I'm thinking, so I sent an email to the mayor's assistant last week asking about the 3rd applicant. If necessary, I'll start emailing the mayor again. I just was reluctant to overuse that avenue in the middle of the pandemic and the election and everything else. So, and again, if anybody else has leads, that'd be great. I had hoped that, the city may, for, good city policy reasons, want to have people who are not, like any of us on the commission. And I don't know how realistic that is. The mayor does have an assistant of some type, not his assistant, but someone else who was assisting him in making recommendations for city commissioners. And I think I could try to contact her as well. Before I do so, maybe Scott and Carlos, you could advise me of who she is and what I might be aware of.
Sure, we can discuss that.
Okay, but it's been too slow moving, and if there's somebody who still wants to be on and has applied 4 or 5 months ago, I certainly want to preserve that.
And that applicant that I still think would be great, like he's still would.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I specifically asked about him, and let's try and follow up.
He'd be good.
Can we amend the ordinance when we rewrote it, 2-3 years ago, to reduce the quorum to at least a majority of the current commissioners. So we do, get some break by having commissioners drop off, although it's still not desirable.
Correct.
So with 11 slots, of which 5 will be vacant at the end of the month, there's
Yeah.
only 6 commissioners, so a quorum is 4 people. Is
Yeah.
that the way it works?
Yeah. So it's.
That's a little scary, but okay.
Well, I'm sorry. Is Stuart
Just think of the ones you deferred tonight that are coming back in a month.
I know. That's what I was thinking about. Yeah.
4.
You should have kicked them 3 months forward.
So we'll have 7 commissioners, right?
Can you repeat that?
This is 6,
Yes, there'll be 7. And just to give a little bit of perspective, there are certainly other boards, committees, and commissions that 7 is their full body. The zoning board consists of 7. The planning commission consists of 9, although it has 2 vacancies currently. So I think it's always great to have as much expertise as we can, but I think commission can remain functional at that level for at least the time being.
Ken, when's your last day? Next year? Do you remember?
April or May, maybe?
I thought it was May.
Yeah.
May.
Great.
So that's clearly need somebody by then.
So maybe we could start with the easy one. Is there anyone who would make a nomination for the chair?
Well, does Mark want to do? Oh, we can't, sorry. Elliot.
I'll shut, Julie.
I think you're welcome to make a nomination.
Okay. Wait, Mark, do you want to do it again?
I mean, I'd like to. I know other people would be really good too, but I certainly enjoy doing. I mean, I wouldn't do it for more than one more year. That's for sure. But I know I'm not the only one who's qualified.
I'm gonna recommend. I'm looking here. Aleka, Susie, or Beth. You pick the positions.
Look at the
Step up.
enthusiasm. I mean, they are so excited by the prospect.
I have no interest to be an officer, but I have a feeling that's not going to last.
No way.
That's not an appropriate answer.
Especially when Ken tells me he's not going to be vice chair.
I want to say that I have seen, because I've been working with Susie, that she would make a great vice president, unless either of you, Aleka or Beth, wanted to do it. So I'm leaving so no one can get mad at me, but I would nominate Susie to do that, and then you guys could, just because I've been working with her.
You still have to do pre-review.
What are all the
And secretary. What do you do as secretary, Elliot?
I have no idea.
He rides camels.
Actually, it's weird because if you've ever looked, I don't think it's described in the ordinance, is it, Mark?
I don't remember.
He was a secretary, but what did you?
I think it has a description.
The function is to actually write the minutes. So does that?
Oh, and Carlos won't let me do it, or you'd have 1-page minutes.
The minutes, right? And of course, we have
project and voted 7-0.
minutes is fine. So we definitely need someone who would be willing to read them for the meeting and let us know what's necessary to amend.
I have no interest in any officers' positions, but I nominate Susie for vice chair and Beth for secretary.
So I'll.
I don't know if it needs to be done, but I formally nominate Mark for chair.
I formally, yes, and he's
Mark's
great.
been outstanding. The way you've led the meetings and move them along in a expeditious but appropriate and thorough way is awesome. So
Beth, your secretary.
Yeah, so just let me be clear. Is Carlos continuing to write the minutes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. I will be secretary. I will be considered for
look at
secretary.
them.
Susie?
What he really ought to do, though, is when he sends out the minutes, read them, because I realized, and it had nothing to do with Carlos, but it seemed as if that was the only thing that I could see myself doing, if he was going to write the minutes, I'd better read them and edit them.
All right, I
Yeah,
read
you're
it.
almost like copy editing.
But wait, like, okay, Susie, Ken, what have you done as vice, whatever? What have you done?
He chairs the meetings when Mark hasn't been
I
there.
chaired 1 or 2 meetings when Mark was
Okay.
around.
Good job.
See, Susie.
And
But Mark
also,
really
by the
attends
way,
every meeting, so it's been.
when I need some feedback from the chair or the vice chair, I have consulted to both, and it's very have someone to be able to give us their opinion on certain cases that might be proper.
But just to be clear, since
things
I'm
that fall in
doing
the gray area of should it be administrative or should it be in front of the commission? That seems to
She's,
be a lot of the questions.
but Susie's doing pre-review.
Since I do pre-review, shouldn't that mean that somebody else should have the joy of being vice chair?
Yeah, Aleka.
No, I think
Secretary.
I mean, I already spend 2 hours in pre-review every month.
Yeah, I know.
That's kind of a vice chair role. I think that sounds like what a vice chair
Okay,
should be
you know
doing.
what, I would say, you guys think about it, but here's the thing, I do not think like a new person coming in should be in any position of, no, it has to be someone who's kind of been around. So you guys are gonna have to just step up.
Yeah.
Stuart,
great.
Stuart might be really good at the pre-review. Stuart at some point maybe
He
really
could,
good.
like, when we don't want to do, when, one of us, but we are so not having 3 people on that. Okay, Susie will never, ever get off the phone.
Susie, separate and apart from the concept of being vice chair, which I don't think really, I mean, I think you can do as you wish. Carlos often sends things to me just to be nice because I'm the chair when I don't even understand the technical aspects of it. But then he'll send it to Ken or Elliot. And I think just, they've had tremendous expertise at technical issues. And I think, Ken will be around for a while longer, but we'll be counting on you more just for, being the, the person with the technical background.
Susie, take
That's
over.
fine, but just so we're clear, Jamie has an equal technical background that I do. So let's not forget,
Okay.
Jamie is just as intelligent as an architect in restoration.
I'm sure Stuart will help too.
Ken, why don't you?
You'll be fine.
Why
All
doesn't-
right, well, you know what, you guys have to figure it out. We're gonna,
Alrighty, why don't we, it's really late. Why don't we adjourn?
I wonder what
The election it will be in December, and we can take additional nominations from the floor in December per the rules.
Okay. All right. All in favor of adjourning? Yes.
Aye.
Okay. Good night. Great to see you all.
Thank you guys again.